In a town known for glitz and glamour, where the bright lights shine on the silver screen, there exists a darker side of fame. From legendary stars to rising talents, no one is immune to the devastating consequences of alcohol. But this is not just a gossip fest. We're here to shed light on the impact of addiction and the rise and fall of these stars. Here are the 10 worst alcoholics in Hollywood history. Number 10. Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed possessed a captivating presence on the screen, enchanting audiences with his portrayal of various notorious villains. He was renowned for his striking blue eyes, facial scars resulting from a bar fight while intoxicated, and exceptional acting abilities that were unfortunately overshadowed by his alcohol addiction, as noted by Ridley Scott and others. Oliver Reed gained significant recognition for his performances in the Three Musketeers trilogy, Oliver Twist, Treasure Island, and Gladiator, among a total of 120 films. Sadly, he passed away after completing his work on Gladiator, following a drinking challenge with Royal Navy sailors at a pub in Malta. Ridley Scott personally selected Oliver Reed for the memorable role of Proximo in Gladiator, but only on the condition that Reed would abstain from alcohol during filming. However, according to Reed's close friend, Sir Christopher Lee, after consuming 8 drinks, he transformed into a terrible figure, making it a distressing sight to witness. When Oliver Reed was 35 years old, he once got into an argument at a nightclub with a group of men that ended with Reed walking away with a dismissive remark. They waited until he went to the toilet, followed him in, and attacked him with broken bottles. Reed required 63 stitches for a series of deep gouges to the side of his face, leaving him with permanent scars. Reed initially thought his film career was over. Oliver Reed went out on his shield doing the thing he loved best, being the heart of a party. Havoc incarnate. Prior to completing the filming of his last movie, Gladiator, Reed visited a pub one evening and consumed 8 bottles of beer, 3 bottles of rum, and several shots of whiskey. Sadly, he experienced a heart attack and passed away shortly thereafter. Reflecting on his captivating life, Reed frequently expressed a single regret: not having emptied every pub of its drinks and not sleeping with every woman on the planet. Number 9. Richard Burton. Immersed in the world of showmanship, Richard Burton, a charismatic actor known for his dynamic style, baritone voice, and relationship with Elizabeth Taylor, was hailed as a worthy successor to the renowned Laurence Olivier. Even today, his brilliance shines through in remarkable performances, such as his Oscar-nominated role in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Yet, as the saying goes, old habits die hard. Burton admitted to starting on his journey with alcohol at the tender age of 12, and during his darkest times, he found himself consumed by the allure of 3 vodka bottles a day. The impact of his excessive indulgence became evident during the filming of The Klansman, as he struggled to maintain his balance, often resorting to shooting scenes from a seated or reclined position. Off-screen, his behavior wasn't much different. Upon hearing a rumored shark sighting, he once fearlessly downed a staggering 21 shots of tequila before plunging into the depths of the sea. In 1974, Burton's life hung in the balance after a harrowing bout of excessive hard liquor consumption. A few years prior, in 1970, doctors had forewarned him that his indulgence in alcohol would inevitably lead to his demise. His self-destructive habit had caused his kidneys to swell to abnormal sizes, and a subsequent surgical procedure in the early 1980s revealed that his spine was encrusted with crystallized alcohol. Despite the cautionary words of the medical experts, this extraordinary Welsh thespian chose to disregard their advice. Tragically, his illustrious career came to an abrupt halt in 1984, as he succumbed to the ravages of alcoholism at the age of 58. Number 8. Barbara Payton. Barbara Payton was certainly a contender. In the early 1950s, she was a rising B-list actress who had connections with famous men such as Bob Hope and her husband, Franchot Tone. However, her career took a downturn and she spiraled into alcoholism. This led to the loss of her beauty, her livelihood, and multiple encounters with the law due to public intoxication, writing bad checks, and engaging in prostitution. Originally from a small town in Minnesota, this stunning blonde ventured off to Hollywood and quickly became one of the most prominent stars of the 1940s and 1950s. She shared the screen with renowned actors like James Cagney, Gary Cooper, and Gregory Peck. However, Peyton's personal life was a chaotic mess. She had numerous affairs with almost every man she met, violent relationships, shoplifting, prostitution, and numerous run-ins with the police. During the 1960s, her battles with alcoholism got worse, but it gave her a sense of stability in an otherwise troubled life. Peyton's life deteriorated further after she lost custody of her son because of her immoral lifestyle. As an illustration, in 1962, she faced charges of being publicly intoxicated when she was discovered sleeping at a bus stop on Sunset Boulevard, wearing a coat and a bathing suit. Additionally, she was arrested that same year for disorderly conduct while under the influence of alcohol during a rowdy afternoon party. Soon after, she began spending countless evenings in bars and pubs. Sadly, at just 39 years old, she was found deceased due to heart and liver disease, and had such a drastic change in appearance that it was difficult to recognize her. Number 7. John Barrymore. This classical actor, belonging to the renowned Barrymore family of actors, was a prominent figure in the early 1900s. He was highly acclaimed as one of the greatest of his time. Interestingly, he gained recognition for his portrayal of sympathetic characters with alcohol addictions in movies, despite the fact that he struggled with alcoholism himself. Although he was primarily known for his remarkable interpretations of Shakespearean roles and his captivating performance as Mr. Hyde, followed by his portrayal of Sherlock Holmes, his troubled upbringing and challenging later years intensified his drinking problem. In fact, there was an incident where his second wife caught him attempting to drink her cologne. In 1933, he appeared in a successful comedy film titled Dinner at 8, directed by George Cukor. In this film, he played one of his earliest drunkard roles, portraying an alcoholic actor. Unfortunately, in the years that followed, his career suffered greatly due to his ongoing struggle with alcohol and its detrimental effect on his memory. Starting in 1936, he had to rely on cue cards to complete his roles. This marked the decline of his professional journey. A few of these roles would chronicle the tale of a man who sinks into a life of drinking and debauchery, and his hands shook uncontrollably. In 1942, at the age of 60, struggling with cirrhosis, kidney disease, and chronic edema, he finally crumpled and died soon thereafter. Legend has it that following the death of Barrymore, a close circle of his drinking companions, which included Humphrey Bogart, John Huston, and David Niven, decided to play a macabre prank. The story has it that they apparently borrowed Barrymore's lifeless body and transported it to the residence of their mutual friend Errol Flynn. The group positioned the corpse in a chair, drink in hand, facing the entrance. When Errol Flynn returned home and switched on the lights, he was startled to see his deceased mentor staring directly at him. Overwhelmed by the shock, Flynn fled through the house and into the backyard, screaming like a frightened child. His friends eventually found him and guided him back inside, where they all gathered around the corpse and shared a few drinks. They returned the body before daybreak. Pulling off such an outrageous prank required a group of people consumed by alcoholism, and this particular circle was infamous for their excessive drinking habits. We don't know if it's true, but it's definitely possible. Number 6. Jan Michael Vincent. Jan Michael Vincent, a renowned Hollywood figure known for his striking looks and role on the popular TV series Airwolf, had a life that started with immense potential, but ended tragically. Despite possessing exceptional physical attributes and achieving fame, Vincent's excessive alcohol and drug use led him down a destructive path. His numerous drunk driving convictions, involvement in major car crashes resulting in injuries, such as a broken back and the loss of a leg, domestic violence toward his girlfriend, and premature aging due to substance abuse, are all stark reminders of his downfall. Once hailed as the Brad Pitt of the 70s and 80s, Vincent's captivating appearance and chiseled physique enchanted audiences across America, leaving an indelible mark. However, his career began with an almost fairy tale-like encounter catching the eye of a film scout while serving in the California Army National Guard. This opportunity propelled him to rapid success, starring alongside such notable actors as Robert Conrad, Rock Hudson, Charles Bronson, John Wayne, Burt Reynolds, and Robert Mitchum in major motion pictures. Sadly, Vincent never had to experience the usual struggles or pay his dues that many aspiring actors face, leading to a sense of entitlement and an inability to handle the easy success that came his way. Financially, he reached the pinnacle of his career when he earned a record-breaking salary for his role on Airwolf, becoming the highest-paid actor in television history at that time. However, this excessive wealth enabled him to indulge in destructive habits, including cocaine and alcohol. During the second and third seasons of Airwolf, his addictions became increasingly evident, causing production delays, budget overruns, and eventually leading to the show's premature cancellation. Vincent's downfall continued, transforming him from an A-list Hollywood star to an unemployable, has-been actor in B-films. In 1996, he experienced a life-threatening car accident, breaking his neck and revealing his extreme intoxication at the time. His addiction killed him in the end, and his death at age 74 in 2019 from a heart attack marked the end of a once promising career that was ruined by personal problems and self-destructive behavior. Number 5. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, the ultimate embodiment of charm and masculinity, left an indelible mark as the legendary swashbuckler in films like Robin Hood and Captain Blood. But behind the silver screen, his life was an audacious whirlwind of debauchery, darkness, and unyielding adventure. This notorious ladies' man was proud of his image as a seductive rogue, a fierce fighter, a cocaine enthusiast, and an ardent lover of the bottle. Not only did Flynn find himself clinking glasses with Fidel Castro himself in Cuba, but his own bachelor pad in Malibu, which he shared with fellow actor David Niven, earned the notorious nickname Cirrhosis by the Sea due to the sheer volume of alcohol consumed within its walls. On his private boat, he orchestrated wild soirees fueled by sex, booze, and cocaine. Such was his dedication to the art of excess that he even stumbled onto film sets in a drunken haze, once impulsively betting $500 with the crew that he could conquer his co-star, the captivating Olivia de Havilland. Upon suffering a harrowing collapse in an elevator during his early 30s, a medical professional delivered the grim news. His heart and lungs had sustained irreparable damage. Astonishingly, this revelation did little to deter his relentless pursuit of indulgence. Tragically, his excessive lifestyle eventually claimed him at the age of 50, as he succumbed to a fatal heart attack. By the time of his passing, his once dashing figure had been replaced by a bloated and overweight frame, plagued by the ravages of cirrhosis. Number 4. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart has been hailed as the greatest male actor in the history of American cinema. With numerous Academy Award nominations and memorable performances in timeless classics like Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, The African Queen, and many others, it's easy to understand why he earned immense respect among Hollywood actors. However, in his personal life, Bogart was known for heavy drinking. According to one of his friends, quote, "Bogart is a really nice guy until around 11:30 p.m. After that, he transforms into a version of himself he believes is Bogart." During these moments, when under the influence, he could become angry, stubborn, or even abusive. As his illustrious career progressed, his drinking started to impact his work. He often arrived on set either intoxicated or suffering from a hangover. There was one instance where he appeared in his pajamas, refusing to work and instead opting to ride a bicycle around the Warner Brothers studio. While filming the adventure film Sahara, it is said that he refused to leave his dressing room until his then-wife, Mayo Metho, brought him a thermos filled with martinis. Even when not on a film set, Bogart rarely went long without getting heavily intoxicated. There was also an incident where he drunkenly left a restaurant with their safe, only to abandon it on Beverly Hills Boulevard. He also found himself in court after assaulting a few women who attempted to take away the toy panda he had brought to an exclusive club as a drinking companion. Despite drinking with actors like Richard Burton and Frank Sinatra, Bogart frequently found himself in trouble and was eventually barred from pubs, bars, and clubs. His persistent love for drinking and smoking took a toll on his health in his later years. In 1956, he was diagnosed with cancer and passed away shortly thereafter. Even during his final days, he could still be seen holding a glass of sherry. Number 3. Peter O'Toole. With an impressive 8 Academy Award nominations and notable performances in highly acclaimed films like Lawrence of Arabia, Peter seemed to have an impeccable record on screen. However, his personal life told a different story. Early on in his acting career, O'Toole had a penchant for alcohol. While filming Lawrence of Arabia, his excessive drinking escapades in Beirut, Lebanon became legendary, and he was reportedly intoxicated through the entire production of the 1964 classic Beckett. There was even an incident where he took a date to watch a play in Soho, only to realize that he was the star of the show. O'Toole and his drinking companions were known for their frequent intoxication. He fondly remembered occasions like having a beer in a Parisian pub and waking up in Corsica the next day. He even claimed to have learned about John F. Kennedy's assassination 22 years after it happened, showcasing his obliviousness due to his inebriation. Eventually, O'Toole gave up drinking after experiencing abdominal pain and receiving warnings about the detrimental effects of alcohol on his health. However, the damage had already been done. In his later years, his once remarkable appearance had visibly deteriorated, and in 2013, he passed away in a London hospital, ravaged by years of heavy drinking and chain smoking. Number 2. William Claude Dukenfield. W.C. Fields, whose original name was William Claude Dukenfield, was a renowned actor and one of America's greatest comedians, known for his impeccable timing and humorous grumpiness. He seamlessly blended his real-life persona with his on-screen characters, and is particularly remembered for his unique nasal voice, unsociable nature, and affinity for alcohol. Fields achieved stardom in his mid-50s, but his career and life almost came to a premature end just a few years later. His alcoholism reached extreme levels, with reports suggesting he consumed over 2 quarts of gin daily. This led to severe health issues, including delirium tremens, and after barely making it through films like Poppy in 1936 and The Big Broadcast in 1938, Paramount dropped him. Despite his ongoing struggle with alcohol, Fields experienced a lengthy recovery period, during which he became a regular on the popular radio show The Chase and Sanborn Hour in 1937. The show starred ventriloquist Edgar Bergen and his wooden sidekick Charlie McCarthy. Fields' comedic banter with McCarthy became legendary on radio, and he found solace in the relatively effortless work of radio broadcasting. This radio success helped maintain his status as a star while his health gradually improved, eventually allowing him to make a comeback in films. In the final 22 months of his life, Fields resided at the Las Encinas Sanatorium in Pasadena, California. On Christmas Day 1946, ironically the holiday he claimed to despise, he suffered a massive gastric hemorrhage and passed away at the age of 66. Number 1. Bernard Lee. With a half-century of experience as an actor and an impressive list of more than 100 film and television appearances, Bernard Lee had a highly active career in the performing arts. He began his journey at the tender age of 6, experimenting with stage productions before gaining widespread recognition in the world of film. Undoubtedly, his most significant achievement was portraying the character M, the leader of the British Secret Service, in 11 James Bond films. However, Lee's personal life was marred by tragedy. The devastating loss of his beloved wife in a house fire, a brutal mugging incident, and unresolved financial debts plunged him into a state of depression and alcohol dependency. In fact, his addiction was allegedly so severe that during breaks from filming the Edgar Wallace television series, he would be confined to his dressing room to prevent him from consuming alcohol. Despite these efforts, Lee supposedly found a way to indulge his habit by hiring someone to pass a straw through the keyhole, allowing him to drink discreetly. In fact, renowned heavy drinker Richard Burton supposedly admitted that he couldn't match Lee's capacity for alcohol, as Lee once outdrank him. At the age of 73, Lee succumbed to stomach cancer, most likely a result of his excessive alcohol intake.
I never drink. Why?
Step into the hidden world of Hollywood's darkest secrets. In less than a minute, we're about to dive headfirst into the scandalous world of Hollywood's boozy secrets. Are you ready to explore the lives of the 20 worst alcoholics in Tinseltown's history? Hold on a second, there's a twist to this story. The names mentioned here were actually suggested by you.
Tequila, a bottle!
Number 20. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi, the legendary horror star, had a tumultuous and tragic relationship with alcohol. In the later years of his life, he became both a morphine addict and a notorious drunk. His addiction and alcohol abuse took a toll on his mental state, leading to disturbing incidents that showcased his descent into darkness. One particular incident on a film set epitomized Lugosi's struggle with alcohol. Director Ed Wood, who worked with Lugosi on several films, found him hiding behind a curtain, consumed by his addiction. Tears streamed down Lugosi's face as he held a gun, pointing it directly at Wood. In that intense moment, Lugosi uttered haunting words to Wood. "Eddie, I'm going to die tonight. I want to take you with me." It was a chilling expression of Lugosi's despair and desperation. But Wood, who himself battled with alcoholism, understood the depths of Lugosi's torment. He recognized what Lugosi needed in that moment was to find solace. He retrieved the requested scotch and presented Lugosi with his favorite drink, a Boilermaker. As Lugosi took a sip of the comforting concoction, the gun was lowered and the tension began to dissipate. The alcohol offered temporary respite, allowing Lugosi to drink himself into a state of slumber. Number 19. Lon Chaney Jr. Lon Chaney Jr., known for his talent as a character actor, battled with alcoholism and depression. His heavy drinking took a toll on his health, leading to cancer and liver disease. After filming Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, he even attempted suicide. But let's be honest for a moment, Lon's journey was not a glamorous one. His drinking habits got him into trouble, including being banned from William Randolph Hearst's mansion for trying to get Marion Davies drunk. Despite accusations of being drunk during a live TV show, some defended his performance as professional. He shared a wild dressing room dynamic with Broderick Crawford, where they would get drunk and end up exchanging blows. Number 18. Albert Finney. Albert Finney, the talented English actor known for his remarkable performances in films like Tom Jones, Murder on the Orient Express, and Erin Brockovich, had an illustrious career that left a lasting impact on the world of cinema. Throughout most of his life, Finney was a heavy drinker, indulging in multiple pints during lunchtime and beyond. Reflecting on his past, he once candidly admitted, "I used to drink a lot. I mean, a lot. It was fun at the time, but now I look back and think, how did I do that?" In 1984, after being diagnosed with kidney cancer, he made the courageous decision to quit drinking. Surviving the disease, he continued to captivate audiences with his talent until 2012. Sadly, in 2019, Finney passed away at the age of 82, leaving behind a legacy of extraordinary performances and a reminder of the personal battles he faced throughout his life. Can you imagine the struggles he faced while trying to maintain his career and personal life? Number 17. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner, the silver screen legend and Hollywood bad girl, was a force to be reckoned with. Known for her hard-partying ways, foul-mouthed wit, and undeniable beauty, she lived life on her own terms. Can I be completely honest with you? Ava Gardner's journey through fame was also marred by a struggle with alcoholism. Alcohol played a significant role in Gardner's life, fueling her passionate relationships, wild fights, and uninhibited sexual experimentation. It unleashed her inhibitions and allowed her to fully embrace her larger-than-life personality.
Was it you who kissed me?
One infamous drinking story took place during the filming of Night of the Iguana, when Gardner refused to shoot a night scene, opting to drink instead. Director John Huston joined her in downing tequila shots until they were both too intoxicated to continue. Gardner's spirited antics weren't limited to film sets either. She was known for her over-exuberance, whether it was peeing in the lobby of the Ritz Madrid or drenching a bar owner's trousers with a martini. Her unapologetic behavior resulted in being banned not only from the Ritz Madrid, but also from the prestigious St. Regis in New York. While alcohol may have fueled Gardner's escapades, it was cigarettes, not booze, that ultimately took her life. Number 16. Broderick Crawford. Broderick Crawford, best known for his role as Chief Matthews in the TV series Highway Patrol, battled a debilitating drinking problem throughout his career. The demands of the weekly show only exacerbated his struggle. To accommodate his condition, the crew had to get creative. Some scenes that appeared as if Crawford was casually leaning against a wall were actually shot while he lay on the floor. They cleverly redesigned the set to give the illusion of an upright wall when viewed from above. Unfortunately, Crawford's real-life struggles with alcohol mirrored those of his character. He faced numerous arrests and DUI charges, leading to a suspended driver's license. Ironically, he became known within the California Highway Patrol as Old 502, referencing the police radio code for drunken driving. Even on set, Crawford resorted to bribing people to bring him alcohol, causing tensions with the show's production company and strained relationships with both the CHP and CIV. His drinking became such a concern that the show had to rely on their CHP technical advisor to keep him sober. In the end, alcohol took its toll on Crawford, leaving a lasting impact on his personal and professional life. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Have you or someone you know faced similar challenges? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments section below.
It's not too sweet. I repeat, it's not too sweet.
Number 15. Marie Prevost. Now, some of you may be wondering, who was Marie Prevost? Well, Marie Prevost, a talented actress of the early Hollywood era, tragically succumbed to acute alcoholism at the young age of 40. Her untimely death went unnoticed for 2 days until her dog's incessant barking caught the attention of concerned neighbors. It was then that a houseboy discovered her lifeless body. Inside her room, the police found several empty liquor bottles and a promissory note addressed to Joan Crawford, totaling $110. The Hollywood community was deeply saddened by the loss, and at Prevost's funeral, attended by luminaries such as Crawford, Clark Gable, and Barbara Stanwyck, her legacy was honored. In a testament to her contributions to the motion picture industry, Prevost was posthumously awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Her tragic fate, along with that of others, prompted the creation of the motion picture and television Country House and Hospital, providing medical care for industry professionals. Prevost's story serves as a reminder of the toll that addiction can take and the importance of supporting those in need within the entertainment community. Number 14. Gig Young. Gig Young, the accomplished American actor known for his award-winning performance in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? And his role in the iconic Twilight Zone episode Walking Distance, met a tragic and shocking end. On that fateful afternoon of October 19, 1978, in his Manhattan apartment, Young pointed a revolver at the back of his wife's head, Kim Schmidt, and pulled the trigger, ending her life instantly. Following this horrific act, Young turned the gun on himself, ending his own life at the age of 64. They had been married for only 3 weeks, making Kim Young's 5th wife. You might be asking yourself, what could drive someone to commit such a horrific act? The motive behind the incident remains unclear, as there was no note left behind. Gig Young's career had been marred by the destructive forces of alcohol and pills. His addiction to the tranquilizer Valium, coupled with heavy alcohol consumption, took a toll on his professional life.
What do you want?
Sit down.
He was even fired from the set of the comedy film Blazing Saddles on his first day of shooting due to his collapse caused by substance abuse. Despite his personal struggles, Young managed to deliver memorable performances, including his notable role in the Twilight Zone episode. However, his battle with addiction ultimately led him to Suite 1BB of the Osborne Apartments on West 57th Street in New York City, where he tragically ended his own life with a .38 caliber bullet. The story of Gig Young serves as a somber reminder of the devastating impact of substance abuse on individuals and their loved ones. Number 13. Sterling Hayden. Sterling Hayden was known to be a heavy drinker during the time of film production. The film showcases his rambling conversations with the filmmakers, where he indulges in wine and even smokes hashish. As a result, his thoughts become diffused and the discussions tend to stretch far beyond their natural course. The filmmakers had hoped that Hayden would consume less alcohol during filming, but their wish remained unfulfilled. Hayden himself shares anecdotes about his drinking, including a humorous encounter with a panhandler. He tells of seeing a panhandler and, while getting ready to give the man money, asking him, "How are you fixed for change?" The panhandler, deciding that Mr. Hayden looked even worse than he did, answered, "Brother, this morning I can't spare a dime." But first, beware of the unexpected twist in this story. Despite his apologies and bewilderment about his drinking habits, he admits that he is not particularly unhappy. Quote, "What confuses me, if you'll excuse me," he says, "is I ain't all that unhappy. So why do I drink? I don't know." End quote. One morning, he describes having fallen into the canal the night before and very nearly drowning before being rescued by the son who lived with him. Number 12. John Wayne. John Wayne was given special treatment and his demands were met without question. One of his peculiar requests was to shoot his scenes before noon. Why? Because as the day progressed, Wayne would become as mean as a rattlesnake after a few drinks. He had a reputation for being a mean drunk, and his colleagues were well aware of it. Although he may not have recognized it as a drinking problem, he had a fondness for booze.
Guess I'm feeling my liquor.
Interestingly, filming wouldn't commence until Wayne had completed his morning bowel movement. Executives and directors would be left wondering why they weren't starting, only to discover that Wayne hadn't yet had his business done. In those days, people often drank without considering the importance of water unless they were mixing the two. Wayne's habit of drinking without enough water may have impacted his digestion, leading to potential constipation and making it difficult for him to have a fresh start in the mornings like his co-stars. His habitual drinking made it more challenging for him to maintain a regular shooting schedule on set. Number 11. Larry Hagman. Larry Hagman, renowned for his role on Dallas, battled a severe addiction to alcohol that ultimately contributed to health issues and an untimely death from throat cancer at the age of 81. So, what's the point of sharing Larry Hagman's story? Consuming an astonishing 5 bottles of champagne daily, Hagman's excessive drinking led to end-stage cirrhotic liver disease, increasing his susceptibility to cancer. In 1995, he underwent a life-saving liver transplant after it was discovered that his liver had been severely damaged by alcohol-induced cirrhosis. Listen to what Hagman said, quote, "In the heyday of Dallas, it got to the point where I showed up for work about 6:30 in the morning, and by around 9, I might have opened a bottle of champagne, which I would nurse until about noon. By lunch, I might start on another half bottle of champagne. I would go through about 3 bottles a day, sometimes with people who would drop by the set, but mostly by myself. I just kept that steady drip going. Often, I would drink 5 bottles of champagne a day." End quote. Number 10. Mary Astor. Mary Astor, the acclaimed American actress known for her roles in classic films like The Maltese Falcon and The Great Lie, had a complex personal life filled with ups and downs. Despite her professional success and an Oscar win, she faced challenges in her relationships. A highly publicized divorce and custody battle exposed her private affairs through her diary. Along with these troubles, Astor battled alcoholism for 2 decades, turning to drinking as a coping mechanism.
I've got nobody to help me if you won't help me.
However, in 1949, she sought help by entering a sanitarium for alcoholics after a suicide attempt and a nervous breakdown. Through Alcoholics Anonymous and her faith, she found recovery and continued her career in the entertainment industry until her passing in 1987 at the age of 81. Number 9. Glenn Ford. Glenn Ford, the acclaimed actor of Hollywood's golden era, faced a battle with alcohol that had profound consequences on his life. His drinking problem became so severe that it nearly took his life and left him unable to walk for 10 years before his passing in 2006 at the remarkable age of 90. The bottom line is, you won't want to miss this revelation. Alongside his struggles with alcohol, Ford's personal life was marked by a string of romantic relationships that garnered attention. From a one-night stand with Marilyn Monroe to a 6-month fling with Judy Garland, and a tumultuous 40-year on and off affair with Rita Hayworth, his love life was filled with both passion and turbulence. Despite a 16-year marriage to Eleanor Powell, Ford went on to marry 3 more times, pursuing relationships with younger women who ultimately took advantage of his wealth and left him. Number 8. Alan Ladd. Alan Ladd, a Hollywood actor who emerged from poverty, captivated audiences with his portrayal of principled lone heroes in over 40 films during the 1940s and 1950s. His most notable role was in the beloved Western classic Shane, 1953. Ladd's legacy extended beyond his acting career, as he was the father of Alana Ladd, David Ladd, and Alan Ladd Jr., who later became a renowned producer and studio executive. Despite his success, Ladd faced a series of health issues, including shingles and a severe hand injury that led to gangrene. Struggling with insomnia, he turned to a combination of sedatives and alcohol to find relief and sleep. Tragically, on January 29, 1964, at the age of 50, Ladd was found dead at his Palm Springs home from an overdose of sedatives and alcohol. He rests at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Glendale, California, while his star continues to shine on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Palm Springs Walk of Stars, and the Arkansas Walk of Fame in Hot Springs.
I'm all right, Joey.
Number 7. Judy Garland. Judy Garland, the beloved actress known for her iconic role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, battled numerous personal struggles throughout her life. Among these struggles was her battle with alcohol abuse. How did she find herself caught in the grip of addiction? What led her down this destructive path? Garland's journey into addiction was influenced by the demanding studio system she was thrust into at a young age, and her tumultuous relationship with her mother. Reports suggest that she was introduced to pills as early as age 10, and by her late teens, she had become dependent on them. As her career soared, so did her addiction, and she turned to various substances to cope with the pressures of fame and maintain her grueling schedule. Tragically, the combination of an unstable upbringing, a demanding industry, and substance abuse proved overwhelming for the talented star. In 1969, at the age of 47, Garland's life was cut short, with her death ruled a suicide caused by barbiturates, underscoring the devastating consequences of her battle with alcohol abuse. Number 6. Rita Hayworth. In the late 1970s, iconic actress Rita Hayworth faced a challenging period in her life when news outlets reported on her battle with alcoholism. These stories revealed that she had been taken to Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach, where she was unable to consent to treatment independently. During this difficult time, Hayworth found herself living alone and struggling to cope with her circumstances. However, a chance encounter with a fan and artist from Newport Beach changed the course of her life. Recognizing her struggles, he offered his support and invited her to stay with him for a short trip. Concerned for her well-being, he diligently looked after her. Unfortunately, on one occasion when he had to briefly leave home, he returned to find Hayworth barricaded inside, seeking refuge. Determined to help her, he managed to reach her and arranged for her to receive professional assistance at Hoag Hospital.
When they had the earthquake in San Francisco.
Regrettably, this marked the last time he would see the iconic actress. Number 5. Spencer Tracy. Let me first ask you, Can you imagine alcohol appearing on nearly every page of someone's biography? Alcohol played a leading role in the tumultuous life of legendary actor Spencer Tracy. Throughout James Curtis's comprehensive biography, booze becomes an ever-present character, appearing on nearly every page. Tracy's struggle with alcohol was both destructive and widely known. Doctor's notes from a 1942 visit to Johns Hopkins shed light on his drinking history, revealing that Tracy would embark on alcoholic binges following the completion of a movie, lasting for about a week or 10 days every 8 months. Despite knowing the harm it caused him, Tracy couldn't resist the allure of alcohol. He would seclude himself in luxury hotels, missing engagements and disappointing those around him. Tracy's guilt over his alcoholism ran deep, a torment that fueled his self-destructive behavior. Even after 5 years of sobriety, he confessed to yearning for a martini as he gazed longingly at it. His friend, director Joseph Mankiewicz, acknowledged Tracy's guilt and the need for it to accompany his battle against alcoholism. Tracy's struggle was marked by profound guilt, shame, and the self-inflicted wounds of his addiction, leaving an indelible mark on his life and career. Number 4. Gail Russell. Gail Russell, an actress who never aspired to stardom, found herself thrust into the spotlight due to her stunning looks. A shy and introverted child, she preferred the solace of her room to socializing. But when a Paramount executive noticed her beauty, her mother convinced her to try a screen test. In 1949, Russell married actor Guy Madison, although rumors swirled of a romantic involvement with her co-star John Wayne. Her marriage to Madison was tumultuous and ended in divorce in 1954. During this time, Russell's drinking escalated, and by 1952, her film career had stalled. The strain of a divorce case involving Wayne exacerbated her struggles with alcoholism, leading to multiple arrests for drunk driving. Seeking help, she entered a sanitarium in Seattle for treatment. In 1955, following her divorce, Russell made a comeback with a role in 7 Men From Now, produced by John Wayne himself. She appeared in several more films, but her battle with alcohol continued. Then it hit me, and everything fell into place. Tragically, in August 1961, Russell was found dead in her LA apartment. The cause of death was reported as acute and chronic alcoholism. Number 3. William Holden. William Holden, a legendary actor, graced the silver screen with his talent and charisma for decades. From his early breakthrough in Golden Boy to his acclaimed performances in films like Sunset Boulevard and The Bridge on the River Kwai, Holden established himself as one of the greatest actors of his time. However, behind the scenes, he fought a lifelong battle with alcoholism. By the 1960s, the toll of excessive drinking began to show on Holden's once chiseled looks. As Hollywood shifted its focus to younger stars, he found himself losing roles and facing a decline in his career. The setback only drove him further into the depths of alcoholism. Despite continuing to deliver noteworthy performances in films like The Wild Bunch and The Towering Inferno, Holden's days as the leading man were waning. In 1981, Holden was living in Santa Monica, California, maintaining a reclusive and private lifestyle. He often vanished for days without notice, leaving his neighbors in curiosity and concern. It was in his apartment on Ocean Avenue that tragedy struck. One fateful day, the building manager, Bill Martin, overcome by worry, decided to investigate Holden's prolonged absence. Entering the apartment with a passkey, Martin made a shocking discovery. The apartment was dark, save for the flickering television. Using a flashlight, he found Holden's lifeless body on the floor. Clad in a robe and shirt, it appeared as if he had been attempting to dress himself before his demise. The autopsy report revealed a disturbing scene. Empty bottles of vodka and beer were scattered around, indicating Holden's ongoing struggle with alcohol. A large amount of blood surrounded the body, suggesting a serious injury. It was determined that he had tripped on a rug and struck his head on the nightstand with such force that it left an indentation on the wall.
Kid, I'll show you a step I learned in L.A.
There were 8 bloody Kleenexes found next to his body and a working telephone just inches away from him. In his weakened state, Holden likely tried to stop the bleeding, but the severity of the injury overcame him. Tragically, he had been dead for several days before his discovery. Number 2. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift, with his captivating presence and earnest countenance, left an indelible mark on Hollywood. He portrayed characters who were desperate, drunken, and deceived, reflecting the tragic trajectory of his own life. A car accident during the peak of his career left him in constant pain, and he sought solace in alcohol, ultimately leading to his untimely death. The narrative of suffering and self-destruction has shaped our perception of him today. While some biographies suggest that Clift turned to drinking due to the shame he felt about his homosexuality, his own words reveal a deeper struggle. He grappled with the challenge of remaining sensitive and vulnerable while navigating the demands of his profession. His perpetual question to himself, as he once scribbled in his journal, was how to remain thin-skinned, vulnerable, and still alive. For Clift, the task proved impossible. Clift once said, quote, "The closer we come to the negative, to death, the more we blossom." Sadly, he ventured too close to the edge and descended into his own personal abyss. Thus, in the collective imagination, he remains frozen in time, encapsulating the essence of his unforgettable performances, marked by his striking cheekbones, resolute jawline, and the haunting gaze of a magnificent, proud, and tragically broken soul. Number 1. Richard Harris. Can you believe Richard Harris was the most demanded star in the previous video? It's true. Richard Harris, the Irish actor and notorious bad boy, was a larger-than-life figure known for his love of living on the edge. A true rebel in his younger days, Harris embraced a hedonistic lifestyle that often revolved around excessive drinking and wild partying. He relished the belief that life should be lived to its fullest, and he certainly proved it. Famous for his confrontations with fellow actors and random passers-by, Harris frequented the pubs of Twickenham, where his presence was expected during rugby matches. P.J. Clark's in New York was another favorite haunt, where the bartender would line up 6 double vodkas at the mere sight of him. Malachy's, an Irish pub in the city, witnessed both his drinking and his brawls. Silence! Harris had a reputation for consuming copious amounts of alcohol. During the 1970s, he was known to down 2 bottles of vodka daily, followed by a mix of brandy and port in the evenings. While filming in Hawaii, he developed a fondness for a local cocktail that had him attempting to halt traffic with his fists. Doctors warned Harris that he had only 18 months to live unless he stopped drinking. In a dramatic farewell to alcohol, he chose to bid adieu with 2 bottles of Chateau Margaux 1947 at the Jockey Club in Washington. Although he eventually returned to drinking, he reportedly limited himself to a pint of Guinness before bedtime in his later years. Harris was surrounded by a group of legendary Hellraisers, including Peter O'Toole, Richard Burton, and Oliver Reed, until Burton's passing. Even during the filming of Harry Potter, he would join Alan Rickman and Kenneth Branagh for pub outings, often extending their drinking sessions until the early hours of the morning. While alcohol nearly destroyed Harris and strained his relationships, he lived his life with immense enjoyment and delivered remarkable performances. His drinking escapades were legendary, such as the time he attempted to drive a truck under a bridge marked "Clearance 12 feet" after a few pints, resulting in the bridge collapsing. His witty exchanges with police officers, like waiting for his house to pass while lying in the street, showcased his quick thinking and irreverent charm. The old stars of Hollywood drank heavily at swanky parties every night, drank when they were on set, and even drank when they drove. Vote now for your favorite out of the 50 worst alcoholics in Hollywood history, as we share their shocking tales. Fame, fortune, and a bottle. It's a story you won't want to miss.
You can say Pakistan at $110 and triple your money. Providing, of course, you have the facilities for melting it down.
Number 50. Andre the Giant. Now here's a name that echoes through wrestling history. Andre the Giant, the colossal French wrestler, was known for his towering stature and impressive strength. 7.5 feet tall and weighing around 227 kilograms. But what set him apart from the rest was his legendary alcohol consumption. Despite his immense size, his love for alcohol was even bigger. Imagine downing around 7,000 calories of booze daily. There's a wild tale of him guzzling 119 bottles of beer in just 6 hours before collapsing under a tarpaulin. He once even stayed at a bar until 5 a.m., sipping on 40 vodka and tonics. With a whopping $40,000 bar bill after filming The Princess Bride, Andre's alcohol legacy was as massive as his frame. Number 49. Cary Grant. Now here's a twist in the Hollywood tale. The dashing Cary Grant, known for his suave roles, had a secret struggle with alcohol back in the day. Grant's doctor prescribed him LSD to cure his alcoholism. And guess what? He actually found joy in those mind-bending trips. He even introduced some of his pals to the psychedelic experience. Judy Balaban, daughter of a Paramount bigwig, quipped, quote, "If it was good enough for Cary Grant, it was good enough for me." Grant reportedly dropped acid about 100 times during his treatment. It seemed to have turned his life around. He lived happily until the age of 82. Number 48. Joan Crawford. The iconic actress hitched her star to the CEO of PepsiCo, and he made her the official Pepsi ambassador. Now imagine Joan swanning around the globe with her Pepsi cape on. But here's the kicker. At every stop, she had an alcohol wish list that could stock a minibar for an army. 2/5 of Smirnoff, a 1/5 of Old Forester bourbon, a 1/5 of Scotch, a 1/5 of Beefeater gin, 2 champagne bottles, and a case of Pepsi. Yep, glad it's Pepsi. No Coke needed for this party. Number 47. Dennis Price. A British actor who seemed to be fighting a battle within himself. In 1954, feeling the weight of a troubled marriage and his secret homosexuality, he tried to end it all with his head in the oven. Thankfully, a cleaning lady came in and saved the day. But that wasn't the end of his struggles. Price's relationship with alcohol was like a slow-motion train wreck. He'd start his day with a Guinness breakfast and ride that boozy train until the last call, often switching tracks to Scotch. His co-stars spilled the tea, saying he'd show up with a bag full of booze, and even stumbled onto a play's stage during Act 1, performing the finale. Sadly, as time went on, his dapper image got blurred by the bottle, and unsurprisingly, he died due to liver cirrhosis.
Thank you.
Number 46. Michael Landon. The TV icon battled his own demons, namely alcohol and Valium. While he played the picture-perfect family man, he was spiking his coffee with whiskey and his soda with vodka, like a caffeine-fueled secret party. His co-stars had a hunch, but the full extent of his boozing was a surprise. After filming, the bar was his next destination. Landon's TV daughter, Melissa Gilbert, admitted stating that as a kid, she didn't know he sipped vodka from his coffee mug. But, quote, "I'm sure he's one reason why I almost always picked men who smelled like alcohol." Along with drinking and painkillers, he smoked 4 packs of unfiltered cigarettes a day, which likely influenced the onset of pancreatic cancer that eventually killed him. Sadly, he passed away at just 54 years old. Number 45. Anthony Hopkins. It's a story of triumph and inspiration. Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins, the man who's brought legendary characters to life on screen, has had his own real-life battle to conquer. In a heartfelt Instagram video, he opened up about his remarkable journey. With humility, he marked 47 years of sobriety, a testament to his strength and resilience. He spoke directly to those facing their own struggles, urging kindness and self-pride. He shared his darkest days, moments when he didn't expect to make it. But make it he did. Quote, "It was a kind of mental, physical condition called alcoholism. Addiction," he said. Number 44. Robert Shaw. The treacherous waters of Jaws weren't the only challenge on set. Behind the scenes, Robert Shaw, the man who brought Quint to life, was battling his own tempest. He turned to scotch to weather the long filming days, creating tension with co-star Richard Dreyfuss. Shaw's character might have sought a drink, but his on-set alcoholism reached a tipping point. Dreyfuss admitted he preferred Shaw sober, finding his drunken demeanor less than agreeable. In a moment that could have come straight from the movie, Dreyfuss actually took a glass of booze out of Shaw's hand and dumped it overboard into the ocean. Number 43. Glenn Ford. He shared a one-night stand with Marilyn Monroe, a fling with Judy Garland lasting half a year, and a 40-year on-and-off affair with the enchanting Rita Hayworth. Following a 16-year marriage to Eleanor Powell, a celebrated dancer, Ford embarked on a string of marriages in pursuit of increasingly younger companions. These unions often ended with his wealth plundered and him feeling heartbroken. Amidst this tumult, a severe drinking problem emerged, threatening his life and mobility. Despite his battles, Ford's charm endured until he passed away in 2006 at the remarkable age of 90.
Well, maybe you take me out with you next time you go and show me some of the ropes.
Yeah, I might just do that.
Number 42. Drew Barrymore. As a young girl, she was exposed to the world of glitz and glamour. Cocaine's grip led her into rehab at just 14. Despite her allure in the spotlight, alcohol became her constant enemy. Drew candidly shared her struggles, acknowledging the relentless cycle of battling a force she believed she couldn't conquer. She said, quote, "The drinking thing for me was a constant, like, you cannot change. You are weak and incapable of doing what's best for you. You keep thinking you will master this thing, and it's getting the better of you." End quote. Number 41. Carrie Fisher. Beyond the iconic buns and blasters of Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher openly shared her battle with addiction. In her candid memoir, Wishful Drinking, she wrote, "Happy is one of the many things I'm likely to be over the course of a day, and certainly over the course of a lifetime. But I think if you have the expectation that you're going to be happy throughout your life, more to the point, if you have a need to be comfortable all the time, well, among other things, you have the makings of a classic drug addict or alcoholic." Number 40. Bernard Lee. A seasoned actor with a prolific career spanning 5 decades and over 100 films, Bernard Lee struggled with personal tragedies and demons throughout his life. The loss of his wife in a heart-wrenching house fire and a brutal mugging pushed him into a downward spiral of depression and alcoholism. Even while filming the Edgar Wallace TV series, his addiction was so consuming that he was locked in his dressing room during breaks, but still hired a person to snake a straw through the keyhole and managed to bypass the barrier. As a fellow drinker, Richard Burton acknowledged Lee's prowess, admitting he couldn't compete with Lee's drinking ability. Number 39. William Holden. He struggled with a lifetime battle with alcoholism. The toll of years of drinking began to show on his once chiseled looks in the 1960s. Losing roles to younger stars like Steve McQueen and Paul Newman further fueled his drinking. In 1981, his life came to a tragic end in his Santa Monica apartment. Found alone on the floor, he had suffered a head injury, likely from a fall while trying to dress himself. On the scene, they found an empty vodka bottle in the trash can, along with 4 beer bottles and a partially full bottle of vodka. There was a large quantity of blood surrounding the body, as well as all over the bedding and blankets. From the condition of his body, it was decided that he had been dead for at least 4 days. William Holden was only 63 years old. Number 38. Bela Lugosi. Famous horror star Bela Lugosi's later years were marked by a harrowing battle with morphine addiction and alcoholism. A director, Ed Wood, who had worked with him, recounted a chilling incident. Lugosi, hidden behind a curtain, emerged with tears streaming down his face and a gun aimed at Wood. "Eddie, I'm going to die tonight," he said. "I want to take you with me." Understanding his desperation, Wood offered Lugosi his favorite drink, a Boilermaker. The gesture worked, the gun was set aside, and Lugosi drank himself to sleep. Number 37. Leonard Nimoy. The iconic Mr. Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, was grappling with a hidden battle behind his composed on-screen persona. Nimoy battled alcohol addiction while filming Star Trek, using it as a coping mechanism for the demanding days on set. William Shatner, his co-star, mentioned that Nimoy turned to drinking to numb the challenges of stardom. The initial enjoyment spiraled into an uncontrollable addiction, one drink turning into two. After the show ended, Nimoy sought help and entered rehab. He triumphed over alcoholism, but his struggle with smoking ultimately led to his death at the age of 83. Number 36. Ava Gardner. So who was Ava Gardner? Hard-partying, foul-mouthed, wisecracking, and an iconically beautiful star, she stood out as one of the 50s and 60s biggest celebrities, often in the company of famous names like Frank Sinatra, Salvador Dali, and Tennessee Williams. Alcohol was her trusty companion, unlocking inhibitions and fueling her passionate escapades, from wild parties to bullfights. On the set of Night of the Iguana, Gardner refused to film a night scene, saying, quote, "I feel like drinking instead." So director John Huston drank tequila shots with her until she became convinced that he was too drunk to direct. Her spirit was undeniable, but it was cigarettes, not booze, that ultimately took her life. Number 35. Lon Chaney Jr. As a screen legend, Lon Chaney Jr. battled depression and alcoholism. Alcohol took its toll, leading to health issues like cancer and liver disease. He hit rock bottom, attempting suicide after the rap of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. It was not just on set that he was mischievous. His attempts to intoxicate Marion Davies led him to be banished from William Randolph Hearst's mansion. In a live TV show, he was accused of being drunk, but some defended his performance as professional. His dressing room was shared with Broderick Crawford, and they would get drunk together and fight. Number 34. Mary Astor. The life of Mary Astor was filled with triumphs and hardships, beyond the glamour of the silver screen. Her acting legacy includes iconic roles in The Maltese Falcon and The Great Lie, earning her an Oscar. She had a scandalous divorce and custody battle with her second husband, Franklin Thorpe, who used her diary to prove her affairs. Astor, haunted by stress and insecurity, turned to alcohol, spiraling into a 20-year battle with alcoholism that began in the 1930s, as recorded in her diary. In 1949, a desperate suicide attempt and a nervous breakdown led her to an alcoholics sanitarium. There, she found solace in Alcoholics Anonymous and faith, eventually reclaiming her life. She continued to act in movies and TV shows until the 1960s, and she also wrote novels and memoirs.
Thank you.
Number 33. Robin Williams. The comedic genius Robin Williams had a complex relationship with substances. In the early years of his career, he struggled with cocaine and alcohol abuse, which ended tragically with the death of his friend John Belushi. Williams's rocky journey with alcohol persisted, interwoven with his life, even making its way into his comedic routines. In a 2006 interview with Diane Sawyer, Williams talked about the reality that drinking doesn't always have a reason behind it, saying, quote, "It's not caused by anything, it's just there. It waits. It lays in wait for the time when you think, it's fine now, I'm okay. Then, the next thing you know, it's not okay. Then you realize, where am I? I didn't realize I was in Cleveland," end quote. Despite his efforts, the battle proved overwhelming, and in 2014, the world lost a brilliant star. Number 32. Albert Finney. The charismatic English actor Albert Finney's on-screen energy was matched by his wild off-screen life, one that involved heavy drinking. He once said, quote, "I used to drink a lot. I mean a lot. I'd go out at lunchtime and have 3 or 4 pints, that kind of thing. It was fun at the time, but now I look back and think, how did I do that?" End quote. In 1984, a diagnosis of kidney cancer became a turning point. In the end, he was victorious, overcoming both his illness and his addiction to alcohol. His vibrant career continued until 2012, a testament to his resilience and talent. The world bid farewell to this legendary actor in 2019 at the age of 82. Number 31. Rita Hayworth. In the late 1970s, headlines revealed a distressing truth about the Hollywood icon Rita Hayworth. Struggling with alcoholism, she found herself in the spotlight for her personal battles. Reports detailed her hospitalization at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach, a situation where she couldn't provide consent for treatment due to her condition. Alone and grappling with her demons, Hayworth's vulnerability was palpable. A fan and artist and a chance encounter at a country club led to a brief friendship. Recognizing her struggle, he extended his support, inviting her to Newport Beach for respite. After leaving home for a short time, he returned to find Hayworth barricaded inside and in need of rescue. He found Hayworth hiding in a closet and made sure she received professional help at Hoag Hospital. This was the last time he would see her.
When marimba rhythms start to play, dance with me.
Number 30. Judy Garland. Judy Garland, renowned for her iconic role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, was a brilliant actress whose career was tragically cut short at just 47. In 1935, her father's sudden death left a void that strained her relationship with her mother. Garland's ascent to stardom at MGM brought success, but she also had the burden of pills supplied to her even at the tender age of 10. Battling a whirlwind of pills, diets, and a demanding schedule during the filming of The Wizard of Oz, Garland's life grew increasingly unstable. Despite multiple marriages, her struggles persisted. In 1969, her story ended in tragedy. It was Mickey Deans, her fifth husband, who discovered her lifeless body, a victim of her battle with alcohol and barbiturates. Number 29. Sterling Hayden. Whether it was the Hollywood scandal or being named during the House Un-American Activities Committee hearings, he harbored regrets and pride in equal measure. Apparently, he was also an extremely heavy drinker, at least at the time the film was made. Mr. Hayden spent several long afternoons in rambling conversation with the filmmakers, drinking wine and evidently smoking hashish all the while. Mr. Hayden sounded apologetic about his drinking and somewhat bewildered by it. Quote, "What confuses me, if you'll excuse me," he said, "is that I ain't all that unhappy. So why do I drink? I don't know." End quote. One morning, he described having fallen into the canal the night before and very nearly drowning before being rescued by the son who lived with him. Number 28. Spencer Tracy. The Hollywood legend Spencer Tracy was as notorious for his bar brawls as he was for his acting prowess. Fox Studios confronted his drinking head-on, demanding him to quit drinking or face the axe. Spencer chose defiance and was swiftly embraced by MGM. A specialized team named the Tracy Squad was established to manage his alcohol-fueled escapades. His inebriated state was anything but jovial. Tracy's drinking transformed him into a mean and combative presence. As soon as an ambulance was called, a doctor and several security guards would grab Tracy and whisk him away to somewhere out of the public's view where he could sober up. Every bar in a 25-mile radius was given their number. Hotel room seclusions would find him submerged in booze, barely leaving the bathtub. Number 27. Broderick Crawford. Broderick Crawford, known for his role on the TV series Highway Patrol, faced a dual struggle: the pressures of a weekly TV series and a steadily worsening drinking problem. His alcohol dependence escalated during the show's filming, leading to numerous arrests and DUI incidents. Ironically, he mirrored his character's law enforcement role by accumulating DUIs in real life. His intoxicated state even influenced his acting, with scenes designed around his inability to stand upright. Crawford's heavy drinking earned him the inglorious nickname Old 502, referencing the police radio code for drunk driving. His alcohol dependency created tension with both the show's production company and the California Highway Patrol.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I was making those highway patrol shows long before you guys were born.
Number 26. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum, far from the typical leading man, was known for his dark and brooding aura. His battles with alcohol often led to chaos. During the filming of His Kind of Woman, Mitchum's alcohol-fueled behavior escalated into a real brawl with stuntmen as he forgot he was acting and attacked them for real. His penchant for excess didn't stop there. Working on Not as a Stranger, he described the cast as more of a brewery, with drinking commencing in the morning and wild parties lasting through the night. A mishap during the filming of River of No Return revealed Mitchum's reputation. Director Otto Preminger permitted an actor to bring vodka to Mitchum, but not to others. Number 25. John Wayne. The legendary John Wayne, known for his tough cowboy roles, had a hidden side that not everyone saw. Despite his reputation as a professional on set, there was more to the story. Movie stars of his era were treated like royalty, and Wayne was no exception. He had his quirks. He insisted on filming scenes before noon because his temperament took a sour turn in the afternoon after a few drinks. Wayne had a reputation for being a mean drunk, a side that colleagues who worked closely with him knew well. Unusual as this may sound, filming sometimes had to wait until Wayne had his morning bowel movement. In those times, drinking without considering hydration might have affected his digestion, making his mornings tougher. His love for booze had its impact, even on his work routine. Number 24. Gail Russell. When she turned into a stunning teenager, Paramount saw potential in her, even though she lacked formal training and seemed shy. As her personal life grew complicated, so did her struggles with alcohol. By 1952, her movie career stagnated and she faced issues with alcoholism. After a number of drunk driving arrests, she entered a sanitarium in Seattle for treatment. A brief return to acting followed, but her battles with alcoholism persisted. Tragically, she passed away in 1961 with acute and chronic alcoholism cited as the cause. Quote, "There was always a sense of pressure, no time to think or relax," Russell once said about her life as a movie star. "I just wanted to be alone to take stock, and it wasn't possible. Film work was just too demanding." Number 23. Alan Ladd. Alan Ladd was a renowned movie actor, famous for his roles in films like Shane, 1953. Despite his success, he faced various challenges, including health issues and accidents. During a football game with his son, he injured his hand and it became infected. He developed gangrene and almost had to have his hand amputated. He developed coping mechanisms using sedatives and alcohol to manage pain and insomnia. Unfortunately, Ladd's struggles took a tragic turn. He suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound in 1962, claiming it was accidental. However, in 1964, he was found dead from an overdose of sedatives and alcohol at the age of just 50. Number 22. Dean Martin. Known as the King of Cool, Dean Martin was famous for his charismatic persona, often associated with being a lovable drunk. He humorously remarked about feeling sorry for those who didn't drink, suggesting that the morning was the best they'd feel all day. While much of his onstage image portrayed him as a drinker, those close to him, including his daughter, have indicated that it was mostly an act, and he often had apple juice in his glass. Despite his stage presence, Martin was a dedicated family man who enjoyed a single cocktail with his wife during the evening. He managed to balance his career and personal life, passing away in 1995 at the age of 78. Number 21. Ann-Margret. Ann-Margret is known as one of the original sex kittens and as a gal who knew how to have a good time. In 1970, while filming RPM, she struggled with full-blown alcoholism, initially because she was anxious about nude scenes. Her affair with Elvis Presley, marked by relentless partying, also played a role. By 1971, she was incapable of, quote, separating fantasy from reality, as she later wrote. Quote, "I'd drink a fifth of scotch, pass out, wake up, drink some more, and pass out again." However, in 1980, she made the decision to quit drinking for good, and her candid recovery journey is detailed in her autobiography, My Story. Her resolve to stay sober was evident when, during a 1982 interview, she amusingly declined a cocktail, stating, quote, "I don't drink, but I do the hoochie coo." Number 20. Barbara Lee Payton. Barbara Lee Payton, a former Hollywood starlet known for her appearances alongside iconic actors like James Cagney and Gary Cooper, lost her life to a tragic downfall due to alcoholism. Despite her initial rise to fame, Payton's personal life was plagued by tumultuous relationships, run-ins with the law, shoplifting, and prostitution. Throughout the 1960s, her battle with alcoholism intensified, leading to a downward spiral. After losing custody of her son and facing numerous legal issues, Payton's health deteriorated rapidly. She was found dead at the age of 39, her heart and liver failing due to years of alcohol abuse. Number 19. Larry Hagman. Larry Hagman, renowned for his portrayal of the iconic character J.R. Ewing on the TV series Dallas, battled a severe addiction to alcohol that ultimately played a significant role in his health issues and tragic demise. His excessive alcohol consumption, which at times reached up to 5 bottles of champagne a day, led to end-stage cirrhotic liver disease, a condition that substantially increased his risk of developing cancer. Hagman once said in an interview, quote, "In the heyday of Dallas, it got to the point where I showed up for work about 6:30 in the morning, and by around 9 a.m., I might have opened a bottle of champagne, which I would nurse until about noon." After undergoing a 16-hour liver transplant in 1995, Hagman nearly died due to the damage caused by years of alcoholism. Sadly, Hagman passed away in November 2012 from complications of acute myeloid leukemia. Number 18. Orson Welles. Orson Welles, a legendary figure in the world of cinema and theater, was also known for his complicated relationship with alcohol. His fondness for drinking was influenced by his father's alcoholism and the guilt he felt over their strained relationship. This guilt paradoxically contributed to his own struggles with alcohol. Welles famously endorsed the Negroni cocktail while working in Rome on the film Black Magic, claiming its ingredients balanced each other out, bitters for the liver and gin for the harm. His endorsement led to a surge in the cocktail's popularity. As his drinking habits grew, so did his weight. Welles grew to nearly 400 pounds and eventually became the spokesperson for various alcohol brands. Number 17. Montgomery Clift. A talented method actor, he struggled with alcohol addiction for many years. Clift's heavy drinking was reportedly linked to the challenges he faced as a homosexual in an era when such matters were not openly discussed. Despite his struggles, he found a friend and confidant in Elizabeth Taylor, who stood by him and supported him throughout. Clift's alcoholism and depression took a toll on his health, and in a tragic turn of events, he was involved in a car accident after leaving a dinner party at Taylor's house. He and Taylor were once called the most beautiful couple in Hollywood. The accident marred his handsome face and added to his troubles. Despite his personal battles, Clift continued to work in the film industry, even receiving an Oscar nomination for his performance in Judgment at Nuremberg. However, his addiction and health issues ultimately led to his untimely death at the age of 45. Number 16. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde, known for his roles on Bewitched and as a center square on Hollywood Squares, had a lively and witty persona on screen. However, behind the scenes, his life was marred by struggles with alcohol and the challenges he faced as a gay man in Hollywood during a less accepting time. Due to his drinking problem, he often got into trouble in underground gay bars, including getting thrown out of bars, harassing police officers, and, most shockingly, spewing racial slurs drunkenly during his alma mater's homecoming weekend, leading to a police chase. After getting involved in a drunken police chase that later led to a DUI, Lind is reported to have rolled down his window and drawled to the officer in his distinctive lisp, quote, "I'll have a double cheeseburger and a chocolate shake." His battle with alcohol took a toll on his health, and he tragically passed away at the age of 55 due to alcohol-induced damage to his heart. Number 15. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead, the renowned actress known for her wit and partying lifestyle, had a notorious reputation for heavy substance abuse. She was known to mix alcohol with cocaine, various pills, and other drugs. In her last years, she consumed over a quart of bourbon per day, along with a cocktail of pills, both legal and illegal, and cocaine. Her last words, quote, "Codeine, bourbon," reveal her drug addiction. Born into a well-off family, Bankhead pursued acting and became a prominent figure on both Broadway and in film. Her time at the Algonquin Hotel in New York introduced her to a circle of heavy drinkers, including the Algonquin Round Table members. Over the years, her substance abuse escalated, leading to a decline in both her health and appearance.
Why not live a little?
Number 14. Ethel Barrymore. Ethel Barrymore, a prominent member of the legendary Barrymore acting family, had her own battle with alcohol. Despite her immense talent and success on both stage and screen, Ethel struggled with drinking at an early age. However, by the late 1930s, she managed to overcome her alcohol problem and became a teetotaler, avoiding alcohol altogether. Known as the First Lady of the American Theater, Barrymore had a career that spanned 6 decades, and she made significant contributions to both Broadway and the West End. While alcohol initially posed a challenge for her, she was able to regain control of her life and ultimately became a teetotaler in her 30s. In her words, quote, "No one in my family should drink because it's poisonous to us." Number 13. Marie Prevost. Marie Prevost, a Canadian-American actress, tragically passed away on January 21, 1937, at the age of 40 due to acute alcoholism. Her body was discovered on January 23 after her dog's barking prompted concerns from neighbors. Empty liquor bottles were found in her room, along with a promissory note to Joan Crawford. Her funeral, attended by Hollywood figures like Joan Crawford, Clark Gable, and Barbara Stanwyck, was paid for by Crawford. Marie Prevost's estate was valued at $300, and her story contributed to the establishment of the motion picture and television Country House and Hospital. Number 12. John Barrymore. John Barrymore, a distinguished actor from the renowned Barrymore acting dynasty, began drinking at the young age of 14, and his alcoholism grew progressively worse over time. By the 1930s, his reputation suffered, leading to his being blacklisted by major studios. Despite being acclaimed for his Shakespearean performances and notable roles like Mr. Hyde and Sherlock Holmes, his personal struggles, tragic past, and later years deteriorated into heavy drinking. His career suffered, and by 1936, he required cue cards due to his failing memory from alcohol's impact. Barrymore's health declined, marked by cirrhosis, kidney disease, and chronic edema. He passed away in 1942 at the age of 60. Number 11. Elizabeth Taylor. Renowned for her beauty and acting prowess, Elizabeth Taylor also battled alcoholism and painkiller addiction for many years. In a significant step, she became the first celebrity to voluntarily enter the Betty Ford Center for treatment in 1983. Her decision to seek help mirrored Betty Ford's own journey to recovery, after which the former First Lady established the center to aid others. Taylor's openness about her struggles inspired countless individuals silently dealing with their own addictions. Her courageous choice not only transformed the perception of residential treatment, but also paved the way for her to become a dedicated advocate for AIDS awareness, prevention, and research.
But, we're friends.
Number 10. Clara Bow. Clara Bow, the iconic it girl of the silent film era, was the subject of numerous scandalous stories that sometimes blurred the line between fact and fiction. While some of the more extreme allegations surrounding her were false, there were elements of truth to the wild stories about her unconventional lifestyle. As a representative figure of the flapper era, Bo embraced a partying lifestyle and was often seen at bars, engaging in relationships with various men, some of whom were married. One of the more credible stories about Bo's behavior was when Paramount president B.P. Schulberg invited her to a party celebrating a recently appointed judge. She arrived at the party already drunk and proceeded to introduce herself to the judge by aggressively French kissing him in front of his wife, then dancing with him until she was unceremoniously escorted off the premises by studio personnel. Number 9. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, the legendary singer and entertainer, was known for his daily consumption of a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, a habit he maintained until he was 80 years old. His signature drink was a precise mix of 4 ice cubes, 2 fingers of Jack, and a splash of water in a traditional rocks glass. Sinatra lived in the spotlight wherever he went. I guess you could say that he lived by the mantra, "The best is yet to come." But this was not always the case. Sinatra could turn mean when he was drunk, leading to fights with journalists or colleagues. Dubbed the American Olympic Drinking Team alongside Hollywood elites, Sinatra's complex relationship with alcohol was a notable aspect of his life. He passed away in 1998 at age 82, buried with a bottle of Jack Daniels in his casket. Number 8. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart, celebrated as one of the greatest male actors in American cinema history, had a notorious reputation for his drinking habits. In one of his drinking stories, he and the director of The African Queen didn't get sick from contaminated water because they were drinking whiskey, while the rest of the crew was drinking water. Despite his iconic roles in films like Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, and The African Queen, Bogart's personal life was marked by heavy drinking. He often displayed a charming demeanor until late in the evening, when he would transform into a more irritable and abrasive version of himself. This behavior affected his work, leading to instances of showing up on the set drunk or hungover, even wearing pajamas and riding a bicycle around the studio. Offset, his drinking escapades were equally wild, including getting banned from various establishments and even facing legal troubles for his altercations. His love of alcohol and smoking contributed to health issues, including his battle with cancer, which ultimately claimed his life in 1957.
I'll answer all questions right here and now.
Did you conduct such a search?
Yes, I did.
Number 7. Richard Burton. Richard Burton, a renowned actor known for his exceptional talent and tumultuous love affair with Elizabeth Taylor, battled alcoholism throughout his life. He reportedly began drinking at a young age and struggled with heavy alcohol consumption until his death. He once told the director, quote, "I'm not drinking on your film," end quote. Only problem was, that meant 1 bottle of vodka for the day. Burton stated that he was sober even while on 2 bottles, but when he was drinking, it was 3 or more. At the peak of his alcoholism, Burton would consume 2 to 3 bottles of vodka daily, earning a reputation in Hollywood for his excessive drinking. Despite his drinking habits, Burton delivered remarkable performances, including his iconic role in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, for which he received an Oscar nomination. Burton's addiction took a toll on his health and career. During the filming of The Klansman in 1974, his alcoholism was evident as he struggled to maintain his balance on set. His ongoing battle with alcohol led him to check into rehab to seek treatment and sobriety. However, years of heavy drinking had already caused significant damage to his health, resulting in cirrhosis of the liver and kidney disease. Burton tragically passed away in 1984 at the age of 58. Number 6. Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed, a prominent English actor of the late 60s and early 70s, captivated audiences with his performances in iconic films like Oliver, The Trap, and the Three Musketeers series. While celebrated on screen, Reed's off-screen behavior was notorious for his excessive drinking and wild antics. He once confessed that he, quote, did not live in the world of sobriety. Fellow actor and producer David Hemmings claimed that Reed could, quote, drink 20 pints of lager with a gin or creme de menthe chaser, and still run a mile for a wager, end quote. And that he once drank 126 pints of beer in 24 hours, and then performed a horizontal handstand on the bar. Reed's drunken escapades often led to chaos, violence, and scandalous behavior. He exhibited erratic conduct, such as pretending to play rugby with a baby during a christening and exposing his tattooed penis in public, bringing attention to it as his, quote, mighty mallet. His audacious stunts included climbing a chimney naked and urinating on a national flag. Tragically, Reed's life was cut short while filming Gladiator. He went to a pub one night and drank 8 bottles of beer, 3 bottles of rum, and a few shots of whiskey, before finally suffering a heart attack and dying shortly thereafter. Looking back at his fascinating life, Reed often claimed that he had just one regret, which was that he, quote, didn't drink every pub dry and sleep with every woman on the planet, end quote.
I died in a bar of a heart attack, full of laughter, and we were having a cabbage competition.
Number 5. Richard Harris. Renowned Irish actor Richard Harris was a member of the legendary O'Toole, Burton, Oliver Reed circle, known for his remarkable talent and his tumultuous relationship with alcohol. His teenage escapades, including crashing his father's delivery truck into a bridge after a pub visit, raising the structure of its supports. Achieving fame on both stage and screen, Harris indulged in a lavish lifestyle, embracing alcohol and pursuing romantic interests. His alcohol intake escalated with a reported consumption of up to 2.5 bottles of vodka daily. Harris's exploits included being found lying on the street, telling a policeman that he was waiting for his house to go by. He shielded his children from his darker side, seeking to make life seem fun even amidst his own struggles. Amidst intense performances in films like The Sporting Life and A Man Called Horse, Harris was known for his wild mood swings and passionate performances. He balanced his public persona with a private struggle, often masking his inner turmoil. Harris's son Jared recalled an adventurous trip to Dublin, where his father's spontaneous nature led to extended pub visits and impromptu gatherings, extending a one-day trip into 4. Number 4. Errol Flynn. Celebrated as a swashbuckling hero on screen, Errol Flynn led a life of excess and debauchery off-screen. He famously carried vodka to film sets, even injecting it into oranges for a discreet daytime indulgence. Flynn's notorious womanizing, brawling, cocaine use, and love of alcohol were legendary. His Malibu bachelor pad with David Niven was nicknamed Cirrhosis by the Sea. Flynn's escapades extended to parties on his private boat, fueled by sex, alcohol, and cocaine. He once drunkenly wagered $500 that he could bet his co-star, Olivia de Havilland. Despite warnings about his health, Flynn's excessive lifestyle led to his early demise at the age of 50 due to a heart attack, cirrhosis, and bloated body, and he was buried with 6 bottles of whiskey. Notable actions included getting rum drunk with Fidel Castro and having the Warner Lot Bar shut down due to his onset drunkenness. Flynn's daily medicine included 2/5 of vodka in his doctor's bag. He consumed Bloody Marys to mask his alcohol scent and snacked on vodka-infused oranges. His life was a combination of wild parties, substance abuse, and reckless behavior. Number 3. W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields, renowned for his comedic genius, had an equally legendary relationship with alcohol. He famously quipped, "I never drink water. I'm afraid it will become habit-forming." Fields displayed unwavering discipline in his alcohol consumption, stating, quote, "I have never imbibed while sleeping, and I drink nothing stronger than gin before breakfast." Born above a bar prior to Prohibition, Fields stocked his attic with thousands of bottles of whiskey and gin in preparation. Even after Prohibition's end, he maintained a sizable emergency alcohol stash, telling Harpo Marx it was a precaution against its return. A classic story involves Fields carrying a vacuum flask on set filled with gin martinis, humorously referred to as his lemonade or pineapple juice. On one occasion, mischievous colleagues switched the contents to actual lemonade, prompting Fields' outcry, quote, Who put lemonade in my lemonade?
I forgot to take the cellophane off.
Number 2. Peter O'Toole. Peter O'Toole, renowned for his iconic performances and piercing blue eyes, had a notorious relationship with alcohol. Among the colorful anecdotes, the infamous tale stands out that he once attended the wrong funeral, drunk, while intending to pay respects to a friend. O'Toole openly acknowledged that his generation embraced drinking as a norm, claiming it enhanced his acting on screen. During the filming of Lawrence of Arabia, he and co-star Omar Sharif conquered their fear of camels by remaining inebriated for a camel raid scene. O'Toole's 8 Academy Award nominations and celebrated roles masked his tumultuous personal life marred by excessive drinking. Throughout his career, O'Toole's escapades were legendary, from Beirut drinking sprees during Lawrence of Arabia's filming to being drunk throughout Beckett's production. He humorously recounted waking up in Corsica after a supposed pub visit in Paris. His excessive drinking endured until health concerns forced him to quit, but the damage was already done. O'Toole's once handsome looks withered, and he died in a London hospital, ravaged by years of drinking and chain smoking. Number 1. Gig Young. Tragic circumstances led Academy Award-winning actor Gig Young to a harrowing end. On October 19, 1978, Young, aged 64, pointed a .38 caliber snub-nosed revolver at his wife's head and pulled the trigger, ending her life in an instant. He then turned the gun on himself, committing suicide. Married for only 3 weeks, their deaths were shrouded in mystery, a possible suicide pact or a murder-suicide. Gig Young's acting prowess shone when he won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in the film They Shoot Horses, Don't They?, as a heartless dance MC. His career, however, succumbed to alcohol and pill abuse. He was hooked on the tranquilizer Valium, taking 7 pills a day, washing them down with booze. With a .38 caliber bullet, it all ended in Suite 1BB of the Osborne Apartments on West 57th Street in New York City.
Guess I'm feeling my liquor.
If the bars of Los Angeles could talk, they'd spill the secrets of old Hollywood's legendary hard drinkers, where each cocktail held a story and every sip concealed a scandal. Today, we're counting down the 50 worst alcoholics in Hollywood history. Your votes, their stories. Here we go. Number 50. Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy, born into abject poverty in 1924 Texas, faced a harsh upbringing. His father, Emmett Murphy, a sharecropper, grappled with alcoholism, often vanishing for months and squandering his meager earnings on booze. Audie, along with his siblings, toiled in cotton fields from the age of 5, enduring hunger and homelessness. His life seemed like an endless struggle. Despite his rags-to-riches story as a war hero, Audie bore the scars of his past. Post-traumatic stress disorder haunted him, complicating his life. He grappled with a volatile personality, addiction to drugs, alcohol, and gambling, making his post-war years a tumultuous battle. Number 49. Dana Andrews. Dana Andrews, a talented actor, grappled with alcoholism for years, impacting his on-set behavior. What began as a daring adventure during Prohibition soon spiraled out of control. He termed himself a conditioned drinker after realizing he couldn't leave alcohol behind. His struggles climaxed in 1940 when he was jailed for driving under the influence. Number 48. Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz, known for his iconic role on I Love Lucy, struggled with alcoholism throughout his life. While he didn't drink on set, alcohol played a prominent role in his personal life, often leading to troubling incidents. His reliance on alcohol became a major source of concern for his then-wife, Lucille Ball, eventually leading to their divorce. Arnaz resisted seeking help for his alcohol use until a pivotal moment following his wife Edie's death. It was his son, Desi Arnaz Jr., who finally convinced him to confront his addiction and attend AA meetings, marking a turning point in his battle against alcoholism. Number 47. Fatty Arbuckle. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle faced a tumultuous childhood with an absentee father who subjected him to physical abuse. These early experiences shaped his shyness and fueled his reliance on alcohol to cope. Arbuckle's struggles extended beyond his personal life as he faced allegations of rape and manslaughter, leading to a ruined career and battles with alcoholism and depression. Yet he strove to make a comeback, illustrating the resilience within even those who have fallen far from grace. Number 46. Jane Russell. Jane Russell's life took unexpected turns, including a publicized 4-day jail stint for drunken driving in 1978. Her journey to sobriety began in the wake of this incident. At age 60, she re-entered the spotlight as the face of a brand catering to full-figured women, challenging societal norms. Russell openly discussed the conflict between her faith and her image, and she expressed regret for her extramarital affairs, divorce, and battle with alcoholism.
This is the seat they assigned me, lady.
How much did it cost you?
Number 45. Bud Abbott. Bud Abbott's partnership with Lou Costello faced its own challenges, particularly due to Abbott's battle with alcohol. His struggles began as he turned to heavy drinking to cope with the effects of epilepsy. This addiction didn't set well with Costello, given his wife's own issues with alcohol. Despite these personal demons, Abbott's early years saw him working at the Casino Theater in Brooklyn. Over time, he ventured into putting together touring burlesque shows, highlighting how one can rise in the entertainment industry even while grappling with personal demons. Number 44. Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason, known as the Great One, had an affinity for alcoholic indulgence. Whiskey was his drink of choice, and he humorously quipped, "Time for another," whenever asked about the time. Gleason's legendary capacity for drinking was evident in a famous bet at Toots Shores, where he challenged the owner to consume a bottle of scotch, losing to Shore in just an hour. Even as he faced health issues like diabetes and overuse of diet pills, Gleason refused to abandon his drinking habit, showcasing the power of addiction even in the face of adversity. Number 43. Bernard Lee. Bernard Lee's impressive acting career spanned over 50 years, with numerous film and television credits to his name. However, personal tragedies, including the tragic death of his wife in a house fire and a brutal mugging, sent him spiraling into depression and alcohol abuse. His addiction became so problematic that during breaks from filming the Edgar Wallace TV series, he had to be locked in his dressing room to prevent him from drinking. Remarkably, Lee found ways to indulge even in confinement, showcasing the extent of his addiction. Fellow actor Richard Burton once conceded that Lee outpaced him in drinking. Number 42. Bette Davis. Bette Davis, the legendary actress known for her exceptional talent, faced personal struggles and a tumultuous personal life. While there have been conflicting accounts of her mother's behavior and their relationship, it's clear that Davis dealt with her own challenges, including struggles with alcohol and mental health. Her marriage also faced difficulties, marked by alcohol abuse and domestic violence, ultimately leading to her divorce in 1960. Number 41. Ann Sheridan. Ann Sheridan's battle with alcohol took a unique twist. She, along with stars like Judy Garland and Errol Flynn, resorted to creative ways to hide their habit, including injecting vodka into whole oranges. Such methods underscore the lengths to which individuals can go to conceal their addiction.
It is believed that Little Dopey talked too much and let slip a clue to the police by which a gangster was arrested.
Number 40. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford's Hollywood career was not the only thing fueled by ambition. Her personal life was driven by her thirst for alcohol. Married to the CEO of PepsiCo, she took on the role of the company's official ambassador, leveraging her fame to boost business. As she toured the world as Pepsi's envoy, her demands were nothing short of extravagant. At each stop, she insisted on receiving 2/5 of Smirnoff vodka, 1/5 of Old Forester bourbon, 1/5 of scotch, 1/5 of Beefeater gin, 2 bottles of champagne, and naturally a case of Pepsi. Thankfully for Pepsi, her beverage of choice didn't include Coca-Cola. Number 39. Dennis Price. Dennis Price's life took a tragic turn, influenced by a failing marriage, concealed homosexuality, and various other mysteries. In 1954, he made a desperate suicide attempt by sticking his head in an oven, narrowly saved by a timely intervention. His struggles persisted as he sought solace in alcohol. Co-stars recalled that Price would begin his day with a crate of Guinness and consume it alongside copious amounts of scotch, often arriving at the studio with a bag full of booze. As his addiction worsened, his once charming persona and good looks faded, leading to his demise from liver cirrhosis. Number 38. Bela Lugosi. In the twilight of his life, horror icon Bela Lugosi battled a severe morphine addiction and alcoholism. During a film shoot with director Ed Wood, Lugosi's addiction became alarmingly apparent. Wood, tasked with delivering Lugosi his requested scotch, discovered the actor hiding behind a curtain. Lugosi emerged, tearful, with a gun in hand, threatening to take Wood with him to his impending death. Wood, understanding the gravity of the situation, pacified Lugosi with his favorite drink, Boilermakers, which helped him drink himself to sleep. Number 37. Glenn Ford. Glenn Ford's personal life was as dramatic as his on-screen roles. He engaged in a brief affair with Marilyn Monroe, a 6-month fling with Judy Garland, and a tumultuous 40-year on and off relationship with Rita Hayworth. After a 16-year marriage to Eleanor Powell, he embarked on 3 more marriages, often pursuing younger women who took advantage of his fortune. Ford's drinking problem spiraled out of control, nearly costing him his life, and leaving him unable to walk for a decade before his passing in 2006 at the age of 90.
Amen.
Number 36. Gloria Graham. Gloria Graham's life was marked by tumultuous relationships, including 2 marriages to a father and son. Her romance with director Nicholas Ray, known for Rebel Without a Cause, was marred by alcohol, drug abuse, and Ray's gambling habit. In 1974, Graham was diagnosed with cancer, prompting her to undergo radiation therapy, adopt a healthier lifestyle by quitting smoking and drinking, and achieving remission. However, cancer returned in 1980, ultimately claiming her life at the age of 57. Number 35. Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore's introduction to the glitzy Hollywood party scene happened at a remarkably young age, setting the stage for a tumultuous journey ahead. By the tender age of 14, she found herself in rehab battling cocaine addiction. Her struggles with substance abuse extended to alcohol. Barrymore candidly acknowledged her challenges, recognizing the grip that alcohol had on her life. She once reflected, quote, "The drinking thing for me was a constant, like you cannot change. You are weak and incapable of doing what's best for you. You keep thinking you will master this thing, and it's getting the better of you." Number 34. Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin was a complex and unique individual renowned not only for his acting prowess, but also for his unconventional lifestyle. Despite hailing from a lineage of historical significance, Marvin's life took a dark turn, deeply influenced by his traumatic experiences during wartime. He turned to alcohol as a means to cope with his inner demons. As his health deteriorated, plagued by breathing difficulties and steroid treatments, Marvin's addiction remained steadfast. His tragic end came in 1987 when he suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 63. His struggles with alcohol, nightmares, and penchant for provoking fights were haunting elements of his life. Number 33. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner was a Hollywood legend known for her beauty, wit, and fierce independence. Her life was a whirlwind of parties, passionate relationships, and devil-may-care attitude. Alcohol was an integral part of her persona, often unleashing her inhibitions and leading to wild adventures. Whether matching Hemingway drink for drink being the love of Frank Sinatra's life, or engaging in eccentric activities like dancing with gypsies and participating in bullfights, alcohol played a significant role in her life. On the set of Night of the Iguana, Gardner's refusal to film a night scene led to a tequila-fueled standoff with the director. Her overexuberance sometimes led her to being banned from upscale venues, making her a legendary figure in the world of Hollywood excess.
What's different?
I don't know. Something in the way my heart beats. As if something very good were going to come out of tonight.
Number 32. Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy, renowned as Mr. Spock from Star Trek, grappled with an alcohol addiction during the iconic series filming. Nimoy revealed that he initially turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism for the grueling days on the Star Trek set. William Shatner, his co-star, observed that Nimoy drank to numb the disappointments that came with stardom. What started as a casual drink soon spiraled out of control, driven by his addictive personality. It wasn't until after the show concluded that Nimoy sought help through rehab. Despite overcoming his alcohol addiction, Nimoy's life was ultimately claimed by another vice, smoking, which led to his passing at the age of 83. Number 31. Albert Finney. Albert Finney, a prominent English actor celebrated for his roles in films like Tom Jones and Murder on the Orient Express, had a remarkable career. However, his life was marred by heavy drinking for many years. He once admitted to drinking excessively during lunch breaks, consuming 3 or 4 pints of alcohol. Reflecting on those times, he remarked, quote, "It was fun at the time, but now I look back and think, how did I do that?" In 1984, a diagnosis of kidney cancer served as a turning point. He chose to quit drinking and went on to survive the disease. Finney continued to act until 2012, leaving a legacy in the world of cinema before passing away in 2019 at the age of 82. Number 30. Robin Williams. Robin Williams, the beloved comedian and actor, had his own battle with substance abuse. Early in his career, he struggled with both cocaine and alcohol abuse, a pattern he eventually broke after the tragic death of his friend John Belushi in 1982 due to a cocaine and heroin overdose. Despite overcoming cocaine addiction, alcohol remained a recurring challenge in Williams' life until his passing in 2014. He openly discussed his struggles with addiction, even incorporating them into his stand-up routines. In a 2006 interview with Diane Sawyer, Williams shed light on the unpredictable nature of addiction, remarking, quote, "It's addiction, not caused by anything, it's just there." Sadly, Williams passed away in 2014, with reports suggesting that he had entered rehab shortly before his death. Number 29. Mary Astor. Mary Astor, an acclaimed American actress known for her roles in movies like The Maltese Falcon and The Great Lie, faced a tumultuous personal life marked by scandalous divorce and custody battles. Her battle with alcoholism spanned 2 decades, starting in the 1930s. She candidly admitted that she turned to alcohol to cope with stress, loneliness, and insecurity in her life. The breaking point came in 1949 when she attempted suicide and experienced a nervous breakdown, leading her to check into a sanitarium for alcoholics. Astor credited her recovery to Alcoholics Anonymous and her faith in God. Despite her struggles, she continued to act in movies and on TV shows until the 1960s, eventually becoming an author. She passed away in 1987 at the age of 81.
The lie was in the way I said it, not at all in what I said. It's my own fault if you can't believe me now.
Number 28. William Holden. William Holden's journey was marred by a lifelong battle with drinking and alcoholism. By the 1960s, the toll of his years of heavy drinking had begun to manifest in his appearance, and he found himself losing out on roles to younger actors. In 1981, a tragedy struck as Holden's health deteriorated significantly. His troubles with alcohol had left him relatively isolated, and he had developed a habit of disappearing for days on end. When the building manager, Bill Martin, finally checked on him, it was too late. Holden had passed away in his apartment, a victim of his own addiction. The scene revealed empty vodka and beer bottles alongside evidence of a struggle, highlighting the tragic consequences of his dependence on alcohol. Number 27. Broderick Crawford. Broderick Crawford, known for his role as Chief Matthews in Highway Patrol, faced a relentless battle with alcoholism during his career. The grueling demands of a weekly TV series only exacerbated his drinking problem. His penchant for alcohol led to multiple arrests and DUIs, earning him the dubious nickname Old 502 due to his habit of driving under the influence of alcohol. To manage his alcoholism on set, Officer Frank Runyon, a technical advisor for the California Highway Patrol, was tasked with keeping Crawford sober. The production company even had to shoot some scenes on private roads to enable Crawford to drive. His struggle with alcohol ultimately strained relationships both within the show and with the CHP, underlying the destructive impact of his addiction. Number 26. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth, the iconic Hollywood actress, faced a challenging period in the late 1970s when news stories surfaced about her struggles with alcoholism. Reports indicated that she had been taken to Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach, unable to provide consent for treatment due to her condition. During this time, Hayworth was living alone and grappling with alcoholism. A fan and artist from Newport Beach noticed her struggles and befriended her, providing support. However, on one occasion when he briefly left, he returned to find that Hayworth had barricaded herself inside and needed rescue. Number 25. Sterling Hayden. Sterling Hayden, known for his multifaceted life as both an actor and a seafarer, was undoubtedly an interesting individual. While he expressed disdain for his acting career, felt shame for naming names before the House Un-American Activities Committee in the 1950s, and took great pride in his seafaring accomplishments, Hayden also grappled with severe alcoholism, a significant aspect of his life. During the filming of a documentary, he engaged in extended, rambling conversations with the filmmakers, all while consuming copious amounts of wine and hashish. This relentless drinking led to a meandering and often incoherent dialogue, with discussions extending beyond their natural conclusions. The filmmakers, however, never dared to call cut. Sterling Hayden shared little about his Hollywood days, but had many anecdotes about his struggles with alcohol. He sounded apologetic and bewildered by his drinking, often questioning why he indulged despite not feeling particularly unhappy. The filmmakers observed his unpredictable and intoxicated behavior, displaying an almost nonchalant attitude toward their subject.
I may be around a while. Take good care of these.
Number 24. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum, the legendary actor, had a notorious incident that shed light on his struggles with alcohol addiction. During the filming of His Kind of Woman, he initiated a brawl with stuntmen while intoxicated, turning a staged fight scene into a real altercation. Mitchum, known for his dark and brooding demeanor, often brought chaos in the wake of his drunkenness. He gained a reputation for his off-screen antics and even faced arrest after becoming a target of a police sting operation aimed at Hollywood stars who partied excessively. Mitchum's penchant for heavy drinking was well known, with tales of him drinking in excess from morning to night, often leading to hotel room destruction and unpredictable behavior. His issues with alcohol were further complicated by his defiant attitude, earning him a stay in jail. Number 23. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy, a legendary Hollywood actor, faced a challenging battle with alcohol addiction. Tracy's reputation for bar fights and aggressive behavior while intoxicated became well known. His struggles with alcohol became so problematic that 20th Century Fox confronted him, offering him a choice: quit drinking or face dismissal. Unyielding, Tracy walked out and was subsequently picked up by MGM, where they established a dedicated team known as the Tracy Squad to manage his alcohol-related issues. This squad was on standby, ready to intervene whenever Tracy's drinking spiraled out of control. Tracy's relationship with alcohol was complex, marked by periods of sobriety and destructive binging. His addiction was exacerbated by his fear of flying, leading him to take cross-country train journeys accompanied by bottles of alcohol. Number 22. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift, a talented and methodical actor, grappled with alcohol addiction throughout his life. As a closeted gay man in a time when homosexuality was stigmatized, Clift used alcohol as a coping mechanism. His struggles with depression and loneliness further fueled his addiction. Clift's alcoholism contributed to a devastating car accident, where he drove off the road and severely damaged his once handsome face. Despite this, he continued to work in the industry, known for being unreliable on set due to his addiction. While filming The Misfits, his drinking led to erratic behavior, prompting Marilyn Monroe to comment on their shared struggles. Clift's addiction eventually led to his early death at the age of 45, a result of heart problems exacerbated by years of substance abuse.
We'll go for his head.
Number 21. Gail Russell. Gail Russell, a talented actress, reluctantly entered the world of Hollywood stardom. A shy and introverted child, she dreamed of a career in art but was thrust into acting due to her striking appearance. Despite her initial lack of training or visible talent, her looks propelled her to fame. However, the pressure of stardom led to her reliance on alcohol. In 1949, Russell married actor Guy Madison, but rumors suggested a romantic involvement with John Wayne, her co-star in multiple films. Her troubled marriage, along with a series of drunk driving arrests, worsened her alcoholism. In 1953, she sought treatment in a sanitarium in Seattle. Her life remained tumultuous, marked by divorces and struggles with alcohol, which ultimately contributed to her death at a young age. Number 20. John Wayne. John Wayne, the iconic actor known for his cowboy roles and larger-than-life presence, had a hidden struggle with alcohol. While he was celebrated as a professional on set, his reputation as a mean drunk was well known among those in the industry. Despite his success, Wayne's penchant for alcohol led to erratic behavior and a preference for morning shoots. He insisted on completing scenes before noon, because by the afternoon, alcohol would turn him into a hostile and difficult collaborator. Wayne's alcoholism was rooted in a time when drinking habits were different, and he often indulged without considering hydration or its effects on his health. This lifestyle choice impacted his ability to work regularly and maintain a fresh and early start on set, setting him apart from his co-stars. Number 19. Ann-Margret. Ann-Margret, known as one of the original sex kittens in Hollywood, struggled with alcoholism amid other challenges in her life. Despite her youthful exuberance on screen, her off-screen life was marked by a love for partying and fun. Her notorious affair with Elvis Presley during the filming of Viva Las Vegas contributed to her descent into full-blown alcoholism. Her drinking began as a means to cope with anxiety about nude scenes during the filming of RPM. By 1971, her drinking had spiraled out of control, affecting her ability to distinguish reality from fantasy. Ann-Margret eventually conquered her addiction in 1980 and candidly discussed her journey to recovery in her autobiography. Number 18. Alan Ladd. Alan Ladd Jr., the acclaimed actor known for his roles in numerous films, suffered from alcoholism that had a profound impact on his life and career. Ladd's addiction developed in part due to a series of illnesses and accidents, including a severe hand injury and shingles. To alleviate his pain and insomnia, Ladd turned to sedatives and alcohol, which provided some relief. However, on November 2, 1962, he was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound in his chest, an incident he claimed was accidental. Tragically, on January 29, 1964, at the age of 50, Alan Ladd passed away from an overdose of sedatives and alcohol. Number 17. Orson Welles. Orson Welles, a renowned filmmaker and actor, had a well-documented history of alcoholism. His love for Negroni, a cocktail of gin and scotch, was notorious. Welles's relationship with alcohol began with a troubled family background, particularly his father's alcoholism, which led to their estrangement. Welles's endorsement of Negroni while working in Rome helped popularize the cocktail in the U.S. His excessive drinking, however, contributed to his weight gain, and he reached nearly 400 pounds. Welles's drinking habits affected his behavior on set, where he would often consume alcohol between takes. Number 16. Barbara Lee Payton. Barbara Lee Payton, a promising Hollywood actress of the 40s and 50s, saw her life and career crumble due to alcoholism. Despite her initial success and collaborations with renowned actors, Payton's personal life was tumultuous. She engaged in numerous affairs, experienced violent relationships, and faced legal issues, including shoplifting and prostitution. Alcohol became her escape from the chaos, leading to worsening addiction in the 1960s. Losing custody of her son intensified her struggles, and she faced public drunkenness and disorderly conduct charges. Tragically, at the age of 39, Barbara Lee Payton succumbed to heart and liver disease, her life marred by the destructive impact of alcohol. Number 15. Ethel Barrymore. Ethel Barrymore, a prominent member of the legendary Barrymore family, faced her own struggles with alcohol from an early age. Despite her immense talent on both stage and screen, she turned to alcohol as a means of coping with personal troubles. Like her brother John Barrymore, Ethel's drinking became consuming, threatening her career and well-being. However, she managed to break free from alcohol's grip in her 30s and became a teetotaler, recognizing the destructive impact it had had on her family. Ethel Barrymore's illustrious career spanned 6 decades, and her ability to overcome her drinking problem marked a significant triumph in her life.
Miss Barrymore, would you mind telling me your reason for retiring from the theater?
Just want to. I think I've done it long enough and I want to stay at home.
Number 14. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead, the actress known for her vivacious personality and unconventional lifestyle, was infamous for mixing alcohol with cocaine and various other drugs. She was a fixture at the Algonquin Hotel and frequented the company of hard-drinking socialites and members of the Algonquin Round Table. Her partying lifestyle and indulgence in substances took a toll on her health and appearance. Bankhead's relentless consumption included whiskey, poppers, horse tranquilizers, and a special cocktail of Coca-Cola and spirits of ammonia. Her later years were marked by excessive bourbon consumption, a variety of pills, and cocaine. Her last recorded words were, quote, "codeine, bourbon," underscoring the extent of her addiction. Number 13. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor, celebrated for her beauty and acting prowess, grappled with alcoholism and painkiller addiction for many years. Taylor's openness about her struggles with addiction helped destigmatize the topic. In 1983, she became the first celebrity to admit herself to the Betty Ford Center, founded by former First Lady Betty Ford, who also battled addiction. Taylor's decision to seek treatment had a profound impact, inspiring countless individuals to confront their own addictions. Her journey toward recovery allowed her to redirect her energy towards raising awareness about AIDS, making a significant contribution to the cause. Number 12. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde, known for his comedic talents and memorable roles, faced his own demons due to alcohol. He frequented underground gay bars in Hollywood, where he sometimes got into trouble because of his drinking problems. Lynde's intoxication often led to his expulsion from bars and even involvement in drunken police chases. His struggle with alcohol contributed to his declining career and reputation. Tragically, Paul Lynde passed away at the age of 55 due to alcohol-induced damage to his heart. Number 11. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart, widely regarded as one of the greatest actors in American cinema history, had a notorious reputation for his drinking habits. Despite his acclaimed career and iconic roles, Bogart's excessive drinking led to erratic behavior both on and off the set. His love for alcohol often resulted in being drunk or hungover during filming, affecting his professionalism. Bogart's behavior ranged from riding a bicycle around the studio in pajamas to bizarre incidents like attempting to take a safe from a restaurant. His struggles with alcohol intensified over the years and contributed to health issues that ultimately led to his death in 1957.
I don't understand. What about you?
I'm staying here with him till the plane gets safely away.
No, Richard.
Number 10. Richard Burton. Richard Burton, known for his illustrious acting career and tumultuous relationship with Elizabeth Taylor, battled alcoholism throughout his life. He reportedly began drinking at a very young age, around 12 years old, and his addiction to alcohol persisted until his death. During the peak of his alcoholism in the 1970s, Burton was consuming an astonishing 2 to 3 bottles of vodka daily. Despite his remarkable talent and reputation as an actor, his excessive drinking often affected his work. Burton's iconic role as a hard-drinking college professor in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf earned him an Oscar nomination. However, his alcoholism continued to take a toll on his health, and he struggled with balance issues while filming The Klansman in 1974. It wasn't until later in life, amid a bitter divorce from Elizabeth Taylor, that Burton checked into rehab to address his alcoholism. Unfortunately, the damage had already been done, and he passed away in 1984 at the age of 58, suffering from cirrhosis of the liver and kidney disease. Number 9. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, the legendary singer and actor, had a well-known fondness for alcohol, particularly Jack Daniel's whiskey. He was rumored to have consumed an entire bottle of Jack Daniel's by himself daily. Sinatra's signature drink included 4 ice cubes, 2 fingers of Jack Daniel's, and a splash of water. While he was a charismatic and talented entertainer, his drinking habits occasionally led to confrontations with journalists and fellow actors. Sinatra's behavior could turn mean when he was drunk, and he had a reputation for picking fights in these situations. For instance, he became aggressive when consuming gin. Sinatra was a part of the American Olympic Drinking Team, a group of his friends and fellow celebrities known for their love of alcohol. He passed away in 1998 at the age of 82 and was even buried with a bottle of Jack Daniel's in his casket. Number 8. John Barrymore. John Barrymore, a renowned actor from the early 1900s and a member of the famous Barrymore family, grappled with alcoholism from a young age. He started drinking at just 14 years old, and his drinking problem worsened over time. By the 1930s, Barrymore's reputation had declined to the point where he was blacklisted by several major studios. Despite his early acclaim for Shakespearean performances, Mr. Hyde and Sherlock Holmes, his alcoholism increasingly consumed him. He relied on cue cards to complete his roles due to the effects of alcohol on his memory, and his hands shook uncontrollably. In 1942, at the age of 60, Barrymore passed away, suffering from cirrhosis, kidney disease, and chronic edema.
Boys, if I'm not going too far.
Number 7. Richard Harris. Richard Harris, another member of the group of inebriated actors that included Peter O'Toole, Richard Burton, and Oliver Reed, was known for his excessive alcohol consumption. Born in Ireland, Harris's relationship with alcohol began at an early age, marked by reckless incidents such as crashing his father's delivery truck after a few pints at the pub as a teenager. He achieved acting success both on the London stage and in Hollywood, which allowed him to indulge his appetite for alcohol. Harris's drinking habits included consuming up to 2.5 bottles of vodka per day. He was a regular in London's drunk tank and known to order 6 double vodkas as his, quote, usual. Harris's erratic behavior included swinging from manic joy to black rages off-set, affecting his personal and professional life. He passed away in 2002. Number 6. Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed, a prominent English actor during the late 60s and early 70s, was famous for his roles in films like The Trap, Oliver, and The Three Musketeers. Off-screen, Reed was notorious for his excessive drinking and unruly behavior. He once boasted that he did not, quote, live in the world of sobriety, and his actions were a testament to that statement. Reed's drinking escapades included consuming up to 20 pints of lager with a chaser of gin or creme de menthe in a single setting. He even drank 126 pints of beer in 24 hours on one occasion. His drunken antics ranged from pretending to play rugby with a baby during a christening to exposing himself in public. Reed's career was marked by scandalous stories of his intoxicated behavior. Tragically, he suffered a heart attack and passed away in 1999 during the filming of Gladiator, leaving behind a legacy of both remarkable acting and legendary drinking.
When enough men have died, perhaps you will have your freedom.
Number 5. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, renowned for his charismatic performances as a swashbuckling hero in films like Robin Hood and Captain Blood, led a life marked by debauchery and excessive drinking. Flynn, often hailed as the ultimate symbol of masculinity and virility, carried his love for alcohol both on and off film sets. His alcohol consumption was so extravagant that it became a defining aspect of his reputation. One of Flynn's peculiar drinking habits involved injecting vodka into oranges and then munching on them throughout the day. This inventive approach to consuming alcohol provided him with a constant source of intoxication, while masking the scent of alcohol on his breath. His fondness for booze went beyond this unusual practice, as he was known for having bottles of vodka readily available on film sets. Flynn's lifestyle was characterized by reckless womanizing, brawls, cocaine use, and extravagant parties. He even hosted wild parties fueled by sex, alcohol, and cocaine on his private boat. His escapades included making audacious bets, such as wagering $500 with the film crew that he could seduce his co-star Olivia de Havilland. Flynn's drinking adventures included getting rum drunk with a pre-rebellion Fidel Castro, prompting the Warner Brothers studio head to shut down the bar on the studio lot. His bachelor pad in Malibu, which he shared with fellow actor David Niven, earned the nickname Cirrhosis by the Sea due to its notoriety for both drunken excess and sexual debauchery. Despite suffering a health scare in his early 30s when he collapsed in an elevator and received a grim diagnosis about his damaged heart and lungs, Flynn continued his excessive drinking and reckless behavior. Tragically, he died at the age of 50 due to a heart attack, leaving behind a legacy of both cinematic prowess and legendary indulgence. Flynn's death was marked by his bloated appearance, obesity, and cirrhosis of the liver. Number 4. W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields, the iconic comedian known for his wit and humor, had a legendary reputation for his love of alcohol. His humorous quips about drinking have become legendary, such as his famous line, quote, "I never drink water. I'm afraid it will become habit-forming." Fields was a man of strict discipline when it came to his drinking habits. He humorously remarked, quote, "I have never imbibed while sleeping, and I drink nothing stronger than gin before breakfast." Born above a bar in the era of Prohibition, he stockpiled thousands of bottles of whiskey and gin in his attic during that time. Even after Prohibition came to an end, Fields continued to maintain a substantial stash of emergency alcohol at home, just in case, as he once explained to Harpo Marx, quote, "Never can be sure Prohibition won't be back, my boy." One of the classic stories about W.C. Fields and his drinking habits involves his time on set. He was known to carry a vacuum flask filled with gin martinis, which he humorously referred to as his lemonade, or, in some versions of the story, his pineapple juice. However, on one occasion, a practical joker decided to switch the contents of his flask with real lemonade, leading to Fields' furious exclamation, quote, "Who put lemonade in my lemonade?"
Aren't you a little confused?
In which way?
Your hat.
Number 3. Judy Garland. Judy Garland, celebrated as one of the finest actresses of her time and best known for her iconic role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, faced a tumultuous life that included struggles with drug addiction and ultimately led to her untimely death at the age of 47. Garland's upbringing was far from easy. Her parents had a troubled relationship, and her father, in particular, provided more emotional support than her mother. However, tragedy struck in 1935 when her father died unexpectedly from meningitis. The loss of her father strained Garland's relationship with her mother even further. Reports suggest that Garland's mother started giving her pills when she was only 10 years old. By her late teens, she had become dependent on these pills. Despite signing a contract with MGM to advance her career, the lack of support at home led Garland down the path of drug addiction. During the filming of The Wizard of Oz at the age of 17, she resorted to taking various diet, energy, and sleeping pills to manage her weight and cope with her demanding schedule. As her career continued to flourish, so did her addiction. Garland's dependency on drugs and an unstable upbringing took a heavy toll on her. She went on to be married 5 times, with her 5th husband, Mickey Deans, discovering her lifeless body when he found her bathroom door locked and received no response. Garland's struggles with drug addiction were well documented, and her death, ruled a suicide caused by barbiturates, marked a tragic end to a remarkable career and life. Number 2. Peter O'Toole. Peter O'Toole, the legendary actor known for his brilliant performances and piercing blue eyes, had a reputation as one of Hollywood's prominent alcoholics. Despite his charming appearance, O'Toole was not immune to the allure of alcohol, and he once quipped that his generation simply drank, whether they had commitments for the day or not. O'Toole even claimed that alcohol enhanced his performances on the big screen. An iconic story from his career involves his role in Lawrence of Arabia, where he and co-star Omar Sharif were reportedly both afraid of camels. To overcome their fears, they decided to be completely drunk for the entire camel riding scene. O'Toole later laughed at the memory, admitting that he didn't remember the scene at all. While O'Toole received 8 Academy Award nominations and earned acclaim for his roles in classic films, his personal life was marked by his struggle with alcohol. He indulged in wild drinking sprees during the filming of Lawrence of Arabia in Beirut, Lebanon, and was reportedly drunk throughout the production of the 1964 film Beckett. O'Toole's excessive drinking and partying took a toll on his health. He eventually gave up drinking after experiencing abdominal pain and warnings about the impact of alcohol on his well-being. However, the years of excessive consumption had already left their mark. In his later years, his once handsome appearance had notably withered, and he passed away in 2013 in a London hospital, having suffered from the effects of drinking and chain smoking. Number 1. Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant, celebrated as the 8th wonder of the world, was a towering French wrestler known for his imposing stature, standing nearly 7.5 feet tall and weighing around 500 pounds. However, it was his legendary consumption of alcohol that earned him a place on this list. Andre's alcohol consumption was nothing short of astonishing. He reportedly consumed approximately 7,000 calories worth of alcohol every day. During one 6-hour drinking session, he managed to consume 119 standard bottles of beer before collapsing in a hotel corridor. One infamous incident took place in Kansas City, where a bar owner allowed Andre to stay as long as he continued drinking. Andre remained there until 5 a.m., having consumed roughly 40 vodka and tonics. As one of the highest-paid wrestlers of his time, a significant portion of Andre's income was spent on beer and hard liquor. After a month of filming The Princess Bride, his bar tab amounted to over $40,000.
I was known as a wild one by all the folks around.
Ever wondered which Hollywood stars took the phrase "work hard, play harder" to a whole new level? Don't miss out. Watch till the end.
Bubbles.
Number 20. Humphrey Bogart. You might remember him as the suave leading man of Hollywood's golden era. But did you know that his trademark scar above his lip had a rather mysterious origin? Some say that scar was a result of a childhood brawl, while others believe it happened during his time as a sailor in the Navy. But if you ask Bogart's drinking buddies, they'll tell you it was earned in the gritty speakeasies of New York during the Prohibition era. During his early years as a Broadway actor, Bogart was notorious for his after-hours escapades. He'd often drink until he passed out at the bar, and if anyone dared to wake him up, well, let's just say he didn't take kindly to it. This behavior got him booted from more than one production. But Bogart's talent shone through, and he eventually made his way to Hollywood. In Tinseltown, he set up shop at the infamous Garden of Allah, a place known for its wild clientele and a 24-hour lounge that catered to their needs. Bogart's legendary drinking buddies included none other than the renowned director John Huston, his great love Lauren Bacall, and even a young Frank Sinatra. It was Bogart who laid the groundwork for what would later become the legendary Rat Pack. Even with his wild reputation, Bogart claimed to have gone on the wagon only once in his life. He famously quipped, quote, "That was the worst afternoon of my life." Number 19. W.C. Fields. Fields was infamous for his dedication when it came to alcohol, famously saying, quote, "I have never imbibed while sleeping, and I drink nothing stronger than gin before breakfast." But here's the twist. This guy was born right above a bar in the days before Prohibition. When Prohibition hit, Fields went into full survival mode. He hoarded thousands of bottles of whiskey and gin in his attic, like he was preparing for the booze apocalypse. Even after Prohibition waved the white flag, Fields still kept a substantial stash of emergency alcohol at home. When asked why, he'd say something like, quote, "Never can be sure Prohibition won't be back, my boy." Paranoid or prepared? The classic W.C. Fields drinking tale involves him carrying around a vacuum flask filled with gin martinis on set. What's even worse, he'd refer to it as his lemonade. Picture this, Fields sipping on what looks like lemonade but packs the punch of a martini. That's when comedy gold happened. But the pranksters got to him one day. Someone switched out his gin martini with actual lemonade. The result, a furious Fields shouting, quote, "Who put lemonade in my lemonade?" Number 18. Peter O'Toole. The man who bought a pub because he just couldn't get enough of drinking in it. While Hollywood has had its fair share of serious, brooding alcoholics like Spencer Tracy, Peter O'Toole was the whimsical, fun-loving drunk who kept things lively. This serious, dramatic actor was anything but serious when it came to partying. In his youth, O'Toole lived on a barge that, legend has it, sank during one of his epic parties because there were just too many people on board. That's what we call a party gone overboard, quite literally. When it came to life's big moments, O'Toole had a knack for turning them into epic drinking adventures. Instead of a traditional wedding reception, he and his wife Shawn embarked on a ridiculous pub crawl. And when Shawn was giving birth to their first child, guess who finally showed up? A fully loaded Peter O'Toole with a chorus of inebriated actors in tow, serenading the entire hospital. But O'Toole's love for the bottle didn't stop there. He had a habit of starting to drink, blacking out, and waking up in the most unexpected places, like Mexico or in a stranger's apartment with none other than Michael Caine. He cherished the art of drinking so much that when a pub threatened to close its doors on him one night, he did the unthinkable. He bought the pub right then and there. He did return the next day to destroy the check, but the legend goes that he remained close friends with the pub owner until his passing. Here's a story that's the stuff of legends. Peter O'Toole once cut off the tip of his finger and in a true hold my drink moment, used the brandy he was drinking to sterilize it. Then he reattached the finger himself and had a swig of that same brandy. Despite his larger-than-life lifestyle, O'Toole excelled and lived a relatively healthy and consistently prolific life. He received 8 Academy Award nominations during his career, with the final nod coming at the ripe old age of 74 for his role in Venus. Number 17. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was a brilliant actor, but an incredibly sloppy drunk. Holding his liquor with grace? That wasn't his strong suit. His life was marred by inner turmoil, and he sought solace at the bottom of a bottle. Part of Clift's struggle was living in a time when being openly homosexual in Hollywood was absolutely unacceptable, especially for a leading man. However, amidst his struggles, he found a friend, confidant, and drinking partner in none other than the iconic Elizabeth Taylor. She knew his secret, and she stood by him through thick and thin until the very end. But tragedy struck after a fateful dinner party hosted by Taylor. That night, after supposedly having just a single glass of wine, Clift got behind the wheel and ended up driving his car off the road in Benedict Canyon. The accident not only scarred his handsome face, but also marked a turning point in his life. Clift's acting teacher, Robert Lewis, famously referred to his heavy drinking as, quote, the longest suicide in Hollywood history. Even during the filming of The Misfits with Marilyn Monroe, she remarked that Clift was in worse shape than she was, and that's saying something. Despite his struggles, Clift continued to work, earning a Best Supporting Actor nomination for his almost entirely ad-libbed performance in Judgment at Nuremberg. But tragically, this tortured soul's journey came to an end at the age of 45. A heart attack, a result of years of drug and alcohol abuse, finally claimed his life. Number 16. Clara Bow. When it comes to classic Hollywood, it can be challenging to separate fact from fantasy. Stories about the stars often blur the lines between reality and myth, thanks to studio spin, fan exaggeration, and even plain old-fashioned lies spread by bitter rivals. Clara Bow's life was no exception, as she found herself the target of salacious rumors and tall tales. One infamous incident involved an article in the Coastal Times, which painted Bow as the poster child for every indecency imaginable. It was so outrageous that it's widely considered a fabrication. Then came Kenneth Anger's notorious book, Hollywood Babylon, which claimed that Bow had quite the fondness for the USC football team, among other scandalous allegations. But here's the twist. While some of these stories were pure fiction, there was a grain of truth in others. Clara Bow, often hailed as the original It Girl, did lead a wild and carefree life that contributed to her reputation. She helped define the modern image of the flapper. She loved to party, frequented bars, engaged in relationships, some with married men, and unapologetically flaunted it all on the silver screen. One particularly memorable episode involved Paramount president B.P. Schulberg inviting her to a party honoring a newly appointed judge. Clara, already in a state of inebriation, made a grand entrance and introduced herself to the judge in the most unconventional way possible, with a passionate French kiss right in front of his wife. She then took things up a notch by dancing with the judge until studio personnel had to escort her out of the party. Number 15. Tallulah Bankhead. Our next Hollywood star, Tallulah Bankhead, had a story as wild as her name. She wasn't your typical Alabama congressman's daughter. She was a pioneer who left home at the tender age of 15 to chase her dreams in the Big Apple, New York City. Now, what makes Tallulah's story truly fascinating is her residence during her New York days, the legendary Algonquin Hotel. Living there brought her into close quarters with New York's high society elite, and she became a part of the notorious Algonquin Round Table. This round table was legendary not just for its witty banter, but also for its legendary imbibing, with notable tipplers like Dorothy Parker, George S. Kaufman, and Robert Benchley. Tallulah's early indulgence in the party scene led Frank Case, the owner of the Algonquin, to humorously remark, quote, "I can either run this hotel or look after Tallulah Bankhead. I can't do both." As her acting career blossomed, first on Broadway and then in Hollywood, she decided to expand her chemical horizons. Tallulah wasn't one to shy away from a challenge. She could down a fifth of whiskey in under 30 minutes. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. She also dabbled in poppers, horse tranquilizers, and her own unique concoction, Coca-Cola mixed with spirits of ammonia. As the years went by, Tallulah's wild lifestyle began to take its toll on her health and looks. But did she slow down? Not a chance. In fact, as she approached the final chapter of her life, she was guzzling over a quart of bourbon every day. She mixed that potent potion with a cocktail of pills, both legal and not so legal, and sprinkled in a dash of cocaine for good measure. And fittingly, Tallulah Bankhead's last words as she departed this world were said to be, quote, codeine, bourbon. She lived life to the fullest, regardless of the consequences. Number 14. Barbara Payton. Barbara arrived in Hollywood as a stunning 20-year-old with dreams of making it big as an actress and model. And boy, did she achieve those dreams quickly. But here's the twist. Her fall from grace was even faster, caused by alcohol and drugs that tragically ended her life before she even reached the age of 40. In the late 1940s, Hollywood was in the midst of its golden age, and Barbara was right in the middle of it all. In fact, columnist Harrison Carroll crowned her, quote, the queen of the nightclubs. Barbara was rubbing shoulders with the likes of Howard Hughes, Bob Hope, and even notorious mobster Mickey Cohen. Barbara didn't just bask in the Hollywood nightlife. She also made her mark in several big films like Trapped, Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, and Only the Valiant. But here's where her story takes a dark turn. Suddenly, the glitz and glamour of Hollywood parties and the allure of the casting couch started to overshadow her career. Her life became a whirlwind of self-destructive behaviors and troubling relationships. One of the most infamous episodes in Barbara's life was a love triangle involving her, French Otone, and Tom Neal. It was a recipe for disaster. Her life spiraled out of control, and she ended up a mere shadow of her former self. In her memoir, I Am Not Ashamed, Barbara candidly poured out her heart. She wrote, quote, I always have a little too much rosé wine in me. Her story is full of highs and lows, detailing her rise to stardom and the heart-wrenching depths of her fall. Barbara's journey came to a tragic end at the young age of 39 due to complications from alcohol-induced heart and kidney disease. Number 13. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy was not your typical fun drunk. In fact, he was quite the opposite. This 2-time Oscar winner and 9-time nominee had a reputation for being mean and violent when he was under the influence, which unfortunately was quite often. His drunken behavior included frequent bar fights, run-ins with the police, and even a surreal incident where he woke up in a padded cell in a Chicago asylum. Tracy's aversion to flying was infamous. He would avoid it at all costs, opting for train travel instead. He had a unique travel companion, his trusty suitcase filled with bottles. As he crisscrossed the country, he would pass the time doing one thing and one thing only, drinking. Now, Tracy wasn't always drowning in alcohol. He would go through periods of sobriety where he tried to stay away from the bottle entirely. But when he did decide to take a drink, he would go all in. There were times when he'd lock himself in hotel rooms for weeks on end, with his favorite spot being the bathtub. During these binges, he wouldn't even get up to use the toilet. Tracy's drinking problem reached a breaking point when the Fox Film Corporation issued him an ultimatum: quit drinking or lose your job. How did Tracy respond? Well, he simply walked out of the office, strolled over to the bar across the street, and got himself completely plastered. Then he returned to the office and caused quite the scene. MGM later picked up Tracy, fully aware of his struggles. They even had a dedicated team known as the Tracy Squad on standby. Their sole purpose was to take care of the talented yet troubled actor. Every bar within a 25-mile radius had their number on speed dial. When called, an ambulance would swoop in, accompanied by a doctor and several security guards, to whisk Tracy away for some sobering up, away from the prying eyes of the public. Number 12. Robert Mitchum. Unlike the polished leading men of his era, Mitchum was more of a dark and brooding presence. His off-screen antics were the stuff of legend, and he even found himself behind bars after falling victim to a police sting targeting Hollywood's hard-partying elite. One of Mitchum's most notorious drinking stories comes from the set of Not as a Stranger. He described the film's cast, which included the likes of Frank Sinatra, Broderick Crawford, and Lee Marvin, as, quote, not so much a cast as it was a brewery. These actors didn't waste any time. The drinking would start in the morning and continue through the wild parties at night. Among the debauchery, hotel rooms were mercilessly trashed. Crawford was coerced into eating Sinatra's wig. Yup, you heard that right. And poor Broderick found himself being thrown off a hotel balcony. Needless to say, their room deposits were not refunded. During the filming of His Kind of Woman, Mitchum had a scene where he was supposed to be attacked by a gang of thugs. However, on the day of shooting, Mitchum had already started hitting the bottle early in the day. Somewhere along the line, he seemed to have forgotten the whole pretending aspect of acting. The result? Mitchum, a formidable man and a lifelong brawler, started tossing around the unsuspecting stuntmen. Naturally, the stuntmen, who were just doing their jobs, took offense, and a full-blown, not-so-pretend brawl erupted on set. But this was just Robert Mitchum being Robert Mitchum, as his reputation for unruly behavior had already been well established. During the filming of River of No Return, director Otto Preminger took the extraordinary step of banning alcohol from the set. However, when he caught an actor carrying a bottle of vodka toward the trailers, he was ready to give the young man a piece of his mind. That is, until the actor explained, quote, "I'm just taking it to Mitchum." Preminger's response? "Oh well, that's different," and he allowed the actor to proceed with the delivery. Number 11. Richard Burton. While it may be an exaggeration to say someone is drunk all the time, Burton certainly pushed the boundaries of that notion, coming closer to it than most. Burton's relationship with alcohol began at the tender age of 12 and persisted relentlessly throughout his life, despite doctors' warnings and personal upheavals. When he passed away at the age of 58, his body bore the unmistakable scars of alcohol-induced damage, the likes of which medical science had rarely seen. Renowned for his Shakespearean prowess, both on stage and screen, Burton became one of the most respected actors of his time. He was a frequent collaborator with fellow alcohol enthusiast Peter O'Toole and starred in iconic films such as Cleopatra and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, alongside his on-again, off-again wife, Elizabeth Taylor. When the tumultuous couple was together, Burton's daily routine was a staggering display of alcohol consumption. He would kick off his drinking marathon at the crack of dawn around 7 a.m. His poison of choice? A case of beer to start the day. Once he polished that off, he'd seamlessly transition to hard liquor. Remarkably, Taylor, who was often portrayed as his drinking partner in crime, wouldn't join the festivities until a comparatively modest 10 a.m. In one remarkable instance during the filming of The Night of the Iguana in 1964, Burton demanded not one but two private bars, one at the top of the staircase leading to the set and another at the bottom. This bespoke arrangement allowed him to maintain his liquid equilibrium throughout the shoot. However, the toll of this unrelenting lifestyle would eventually catch up with him. In 1984, Richard Burton passed away suddenly from a cerebral hemorrhage. By that time, his kidneys had swollen to abnormal proportions, and his spine was coated from top to bottom in crystallized alcohol. Number 10. Ann-Margret. Ann-Margret, often celebrated as one of the original sex kittens of Hollywood, was not just a screen siren. She was also a vivacious spirit who knew how to have a good time. Her on-screen exuberance was not just an act. It was a reflection of her genuine love for performing. However, her journey through the glitz and glamour of Hollywood was not without its struggles, particularly when it came to her relationship with alcohol. Ann-Margret's rise to fame included starring alongside the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, in the iconic film Viva Las Vegas. Their chemistry on and off the screen was palpable, leading to a passionate affair that endured until Presley's untimely passing. Throughout this whirlwind romance, the two indulged in relentless partying. However, it was during the filming of RPM, a student protest drama, that Ann-Margret's battle with alcohol began to take a darker turn. She turned to alcohol as a means to cope with anxiety, particularly in relation to performing nude scenes for the film. By 1971, her life had spiraled out of control, and she confessed to struggling to differentiate between fantasy and reality. Her days were marked by consuming a fifth of scotch, passing out, waking up, and then drinking even more before passing out once more. Fortunately, Anne Margaret's story takes a turn for the better. In 1980, she made the courageous decision to quit drinking for good. Her path to recovery became an essential part of her life's narrative, and she shared her experiences candidly in her autobiography, My Story. During a 1982 interview with Roger Ebert, a waiter offered her a cocktail, to which she replied with a sly smile, quote, "I don't drink, but I do the hoochie coo." Number 9. Richard Harris. Richard Harris was not only a remarkable actor, but also a notorious member of the O'Toole, Burton, Oliver Reed League of legendary drinkers. The Irish-born Harris, known for his roles in iconic films like This Sporting Life and A Man Called Horse, lived life to the fullest, both on and off the screen. Harris's penchant for alcohol was evident from a young age, as he found himself in trouble as a teenager after crashing his father's delivery truck into a bridge. All thanks to a few pints at the pub. His cheeky response to the police officer's inquiry about the accident, "Sorry, officer, I'm just delivering this bridge to Limerick," foreshadowed his spirited approach to life. His journey to fame took him from the London stage to Hollywood, where he gained both recognition and wealth. This newfound success allowed Harris to fully embrace the lifestyle he desired, which included bedding whomever caught his fancy, consuming copious amounts of vodka, up to 2.5 bottles a day, and becoming a regular in the London drunk tank. His preferred order, known as his usual, consisted of 6 double vodkas, promptly lined up by attentive bartenders who knew him well. During one particularly memorable drinking spree, Harris was discovered lying in the middle of a street by a local policeman. When asked what he was doing, Harris replied, quote, "The world is spinning." The logical follow-up question about lying in the street prompted an equally logical response. Quote, "I'm waiting for my house to go by." While his on-screen performances were marked by intensity, off-set, Harris was known to swing between manic joy and black rages. Despite his tumultuous personal life, he made an effort to shield his children from the darker aspects of his personality. His son Jared recalled a rollicking adventure during a trip to Dublin, where a one-day journey turned into a 4-day escapade, thanks to Harris's magnetic charisma and love for adventure. Against the odds, Harris aged relatively well and even had the honor of playing Albus Dumbledore in the first 2 Harry Potter films, before his passing at the age of 72. Number 8. Paul Lynde. Paul Lynde, famous for his role as Uncle Arthur in Bewitched and his iconic presence as the center square on Hollywood Squares, was not only a comedic genius, but also one of the first openly gay public figures in post-war America. While his wit and humor were legendary, his relationship with alcohol often led him down a darker path. Lynde was a fixture in the underground gay bars of Hollywood, enjoying the lively social scene. However, his indulgence in alcohol had a transformative effect, turning his typically generous wit into something more caustic and cruel. Under the influence, Lynde had a knack for identifying people's vulnerabilities and tearing them apart verbally, resulting in his exclusion from numerous social gatherings. As he grew older, Lynde's struggle with alcohol-induced verbal recklessness escalated. He found himself thrown out of bars, in confrontations with law enforcement, and, shockingly, uttering racial slurs during his college's homecoming weekend while intoxicated. In one particularly memorable incident, after a drunken police chase that ended with a DUI, Lynde rolled down his car window and, with his distinctive lisp, casually ordered, quote, "I'll have a double cheeseburger and a chocolate shake." Tragically, Paul Lynde's life was cut short at the age of 56 due to a coronary incident, a result of the years of damage inflicted on his heart by alcohol. Number 7. Ethel Barrymore. The Barrymore family is renowned for its exceptional talent in both theater and film. But it's also notorious for its members' insatiable appetites for various vices. Ethel Barrymore, often referred to as the First Lady of the American Theater due to her illustrious career lasting 6 decades, was not immune to the family's struggles with addiction, particularly alcohol. Ethel's career took flight in the 1890s, where she dazzled audiences on both Broadway and on London's West End. However, it was during this period that she began grappling with alcohol, turning to the bottle whenever personal troubles arose. Much like her brother John, Ethel found herself caught in the clutches of alcoholism. Fortunately, in her 30s, she managed to regain control of her life and became a teetotaler. Quote, "No one in my family should drink, because it's poisonous to us," she said. Ethel continued to grace the stage and screen with her presence until the 1950s, outliving her brothers who also battled their own demons. Number 6. John Barrymore. The legendary Barrymore acting dynasty, known for its extraordinary talent, also harbored a dark secret, a propensity for addiction, particularly alcoholism. John Barrymore, a distinguished member of this family, struggled to escape the clutches of his personal demons, ultimately becoming more renowned for his vices than his acting prowess. John's tumultuous relationship with alcohol began at an alarmingly young age, with some accounts suggesting he started drinking as early as 14. His descent into alcoholism only deepened over the years, and he soon began to employ his prodigious talent as a means to fuel his insatiable addictions. Taking to the stage in the early 1900s, John swiftly ascended to the heights of theatrical acclaim. By 1920, he was hailed as one of the industry's greatest talents, celebrated for his mellifluous voice and his uncanny ability to fully inhabit the characters he portrayed. However, the allure of Hollywood's bright lights, coupled with the substantial salaries it offered, proved irresistible, feeding his voracious appetites for alcohol, drugs, and debauchery. John's Hollywood soirees were legendary, with his drinking companions including luminaries like Errol Flynn, director Raoul Walsh, Anthony Quinn, and W.C. Fields. This notorious group, christened the Bundy Drive Gang, became infamous for their escapades involving alcohol and women. By the 1930s, John's wild party persona had become a liability, leading to his blacklisting by almost every major studio. His untimely demise on May 29, 1942, resulted from pneumonia and cirrhosis of the liver, a grim testament to the devastating toll of his alcoholism. Tragically, John's family could not escape the family curse, as his daughter Diana and son John Jr. also fell victim to addiction. Remarkably, his granddaughter, Drew Barrymore, though grappling with her own battles with drinking and drugs, managed to overcome her demons, carving out a successful career as an actor, film producer, and director in her own right. Number 5. Orson Welles. Orson Welles, the legendary filmmaker and actor, had a complex relationship with alcohol that began with a tragic family history of addiction. His father, a notorious alcoholic, destroyed the family fortune due to his irresponsible drinking habits. This tumultuous upbringing led the young Welles to sever ties with his family at the age of 15, driven by the condition that he would only return if his father gave up alcohol. Unfortunately, this never came to pass, and Welles's father ultimately succumbed to complications from alcoholism, never reconciling with his son. This abandonment left Welles plagued by profound guilt, a guilt that paradoxically fueled his own struggles with alcohol. During his time in Rome while working on black magic, Welles played an unwitting role in popularizing the Negroni, a cocktail previously little known outside of Italy. He sent a message to an American newspaper extolling the virtues of this drink, citing its benefits. Quote, "The bitters are good for your liver. The gin is bad for it. They balance each other out." Regardless of the scientific accuracy of this claim, Welles's endorsement piqued the interest of many Americans, causing sales of the rust-colored gin cocktail to soar in bars across the nation. As Welles's personal excesses grew, so did his waistline. Once svelte, he ballooned to nearly 400 pounds. His daily dinner regimen consisted of 2 rare steaks and a pint of scotch, contributing to both his weight gain and his erratic onset behavior. He was known to consume alcohol between takes, and in his later years, likely due to his role in boosting the Negroni's popularity, Welles became a spokesperson for various alcohol companies. Number 4. Andre the Giant. While many knew him as the 8th wonder of the world, an imposing French wrestler standing at a towering 7.5 feet and weighing around 500 pounds. Andre the Giant is equally celebrated for his role as Fezzik in the beloved family classic, The Princess Bride. His filmography also includes Trading Mom, Mickey and Maude, Conan the Destroyer, and various television appearances. However, it's not his wrestling prowess or acting career that lands him on this list, but rather his legendary affinity for alcohol. Andre was known to consume an astonishing 7,000 daily calories of it. During one epic 6-hour session, he downed a staggering 119 standard bottles of beer before eventually collapsing in a hotel corridor. His drinking buddies simply draped a tarp over him. In Kansas City, a bar owner offered Andre the privilege of staying as long as he kept drinking, and he accepted the challenge, remaining at the bar until 5 a.m. after downing about 40 vodka and tonic cocktails. Despite being one of the highest-paid wrestlers of his era, a significant portion of his income vanished into the bottom of countless beer and liquor bottles. By the end of a month of filming The Princess Bride, his bar tab had reached an astounding $40,000. Despite his gentle demeanor when sober, Andre transformed into an unstoppable force under the influence. On one occasion, he single-handedly flipped a small car with several individuals inside who had dared to provoke him at a bar. Another time, he and fellow wrestler Dusty Rhodes commandeered 2 horse-drawn carriages and took to the streets of Manhattan. Sadly, Andre's excessive alcohol consumption, combined with acromegaly, a condition that contributed to his decline, took a significant toll on his health. Experts believe that his unhealthy lifestyle led to diabetes and ultimately played a role in his untimely death at the age of 46 due to heart failure. Number 3. Oliver Reed. In the late 60s and early 70s, Oliver Reed was a British box office sensation, known for his impressive performances in films like The Trap, Oliver, and The Three Musketeers series. However, his real-life persona didn't quite match the charm of his on-screen characters. Reed once candidly admitted that he did not live in the world of sobriety, and that statement couldn't have been more accurate. His legendary capacity for alcohol consumption astounded even his fellow actors. David Hemmings, another actor and producer, claimed that Reed could down 20 pints of lager with a gin or creme de menthe chaser and still have the stamina to run a mile for a wager. In a famous episode, Reed reportedly consumed a jaw-dropping 126 pints of beer in just 24 hours, capping off the feat with a horizontal handstand on the bar. Reed's drunken escapades were the stuff of legend, marked by a chaotic blend of pranks, violence, and infidelity. One notable incident occurred in 1980 when he attended a christening at a church in such an inebriated state that he swayed uncontrollably. Later, at the reception, he held a baby in his arms and stumbled around, pretending to play rugby with the infant as the ball. His penchant for exposing his tattooed genitalia in public earned the moniker Mighty Mallet. Reed once famously scaled a chimney naked, masquerading as Santa Claus, urinated on the Australian flag, and even lay inebriated on an airport baggage conveyor. As fate would have it, Oliver Reed's final days were as tumultuous as the rest of his life. While shooting his last film, Gladiator, he embarked on a night of heavy drinking, consuming 8 bottles of beer, 3 bottles of rum, and multiple shots of whiskey. Tragically, this binge culminated in a heart attack, and he passed away shortly thereafter. Reflecting on his tumultuous journey, Reed often expressed just one regret, that he hadn't managed to, quote, drink every pub dry and sleep with every woman on the planet. Number 2. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, the dashing Hollywood heartthrob and original bad boy of Tinseltown, was notorious for his hedonistic lifestyle. His legendary exploits with alcohol and romantic escapades have become the stuff of Hollywood lore. Flynn carried a doctor's bag with him to work every day, but it didn't contain typical medicine. Instead, it held 2/5 of vodka, which he considered as, quote, daily medicine. Flynn once got thoroughly rum drunk with a pre-revolutionary Fidel Castro, predicting that the young revolutionary would be remembered as one of history's great figures. His alcohol-fueled antics on set were so disruptive that studio mogul Jack Warner personally shut down the bar on the Warner Brothers lot to curb Flynn's drinking during working hours. To discreetly maintain his alcohol consumption, Flynn developed some creative habits. In the mornings, he opted for Bloody Marys to mask the smell of alcohol on his breath. Another favorite trick involved injecting vodka into oranges, allowing him to snack on these boozy fruits throughout the day. At just 32 years old, Flynn was warned by a doctor that his destructive lifestyle would lead to his demise within 5 years. Ignoring this dire prognosis, he continued to live life in the fast lane, indulging in excesses of all kinds. Ultimately, Errol Flynn passed away at the age of 50, succumbing to a heart attack induced by acute cirrhosis of the liver. In a fitting tribute to his tumultuous relationship with alcohol, he was laid to rest with 6 bottles of whiskey in his coffin. Number 1. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, the iconic crooner, had a lifelong relationship with Jack Daniels that was as legendary as his voice. His early years were shaped by the environment of a speakeasy, where he began singing for tips as a precocious 8-year-old. This early exposure set the stage for a life spent in bars, where he worked, played, sang, and indulged in his vices. Sinatra's reputation as a world-class boozer was solidified during his Rat Pack days, as he and his close-knit group of friends, whom he affectionately referred to as the Olympic Drinking Team, became famous for their carousing and revelry. While his relationships with women were tumultuous and frequently in the spotlight, one constant companion in his life was Jack Daniels. Sinatra's love for the whiskey was unwavering, and he had a specific way of enjoying it. In a glass tumbler, served with 2 fingers of whiskey, 3 or 4 ice cubes, and just a hint of flat water to bring out the flavors. At his Twin Palms compound, the signal for drinking time was the hoisting of a Jack Daniels flag, and he even had a dedicated company representative responsible for ensuring that his dressing room was always stocked with a case of JD for his shows. When performing on stage, Sinatra often kept a bottle of Jack Daniels visible on his ever-present bar cart. During one memorable moment, he announced to the audience, quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jack Daniels, and it's the nectar of the gods," inadvertently boosting Jack's global sales. His love for the spirit ran so deep that he was buried with a bottle of Black Label in his pocket. To this day, there exists a special blend of Jack Daniels that bears his name as a tribute to the bourbon baritone. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed our juicy content, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe for more upcoming content, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a Hollywood secret. Stay tuned.